just after Dean Stockwell died, and it was about killing time.
Right
So,
on.
because he wrote that one.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. It just seems like this website's a bit of a blog, so if I go back far enough, I'd say I can't miss it. Oh, something else you might be interested in. There's some extended scenes of Return and Revenge of the Evil Leaper that I can link to you if you're interested.
I'm good.
You're all quantum leaped out. Where the bloody hell is it? He didn't die that long ago, so it can't be too far back. See, the trouble is there's all this news about the continuation, and it's going past all this other stuff. Here we go. Find out here how his colleagues reacted. There's Scott, Don. Oh, Carolyn Seymour did one as well. She's Zoe.
Right.
Deborah, obviously. Yeah, here's Tommy's. That's all right. Okay. All right. Well, I've got that in front of me now, so I'll be able to talk about it.
We'll go ahead and get started then.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a Grayson story for you really quick, and it's short.
Go for it.
Okay, so the little guy had a friend over. I was watching his friend, and his friend is like all boy all the time. Like he's still Grayson and him both joined boy Cub Scouts at the same time, but Grayson hated it and Decker loves it. And Decker and Grayson are only like 2 weeks apart. Decker's like 2 weeks older, but Grayson looks like he's 3 years older. But anyways, Decker was getting ready to go to Boy Scout camp, so I had him put on his Boy Scout shirt and his little Boy Scout hat, and they're running around the house, and I hear Grayson go, "Decker, why do you keep saying dude?" And Decker goes, "I don't know, dude." And Grayson goes, "Oh, it must be the hat." It was so cute. It was just like a little random. Oh, it has to be the hat, like.
Yeah.
Why are you using the word dude all the time? But yeah. No. I had another one for you earlier, but I forgot it.
Well, that reminds me of something funny from a couple of months ago. I went on holiday to Adelaide, it's not really a great town to visit. It's kind of like a very, very boring sort of town. But I went over there to watch a footy match because Richmond was playing over there, and caught up with some friends who live there. And one of my mates who I was with decided every time Adelaide, the home team, got a free kick in the footy, he'd have a drink. And let's just say they got 30 free kicks in that game. So he was absolutely fucked by the time we were done. But what you were saying about the hat reminded me, for us to try and control him, what I'd do is I'd get my Tigers hat and I'd put it on him. And I said, right, this hat's magic. When you wear it, you're going to be able to walk straight. And it worked every time.
Oh my gosh. That's great.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, no, my son
comes out with some great stuff. So you got to write this all down so that you can remember it and humiliate the fuck out of him on his 21st and also publish it.
So one more really quick. He gets swim lessons, and Aaron doesn't know this one yet. Kat, you'd better not get up there. Grayson takes swim lessons from a good friend of ours' daughter. And so today, it was Wednesday. So Wednesday I come out and I'm like, "So Kaylin, how did Grayson do today?" And I told Grayson that if he had to swim laps for not listening, that he was going to get in trouble. So when I went out there, I was expecting her to tell me that he swam laps because Grayson has a tendency to want to argue.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm watching a cat up on the bookshelf, and I'm worried he's gonna knock down Aaron's Cobra Commander figure. Um, but anyway, so I go, so Kaylin, how did Grayson do? She's like, well, he goes, I didn't have to swim laps, Mom. He's still in the pool. He goes, I didn't swim laps. Aaron, you might want to get him before he knocks down.
Hey.
Cobra. Drogo, get down. Kitty. Gently put him
What
down.
a name for a cat, Drago.
It's Cat Drogo.
Catnip is his choice.
So anyways, Grayson yells, Mom, I didn't have to swim laps. And Kaylin's like, no, he didn't have to. She's like, and since Decker was here, it was the same day Decker was over. She goes, I knew he wanted to get done so he and Decker could go swimming. So I told him that if he swam across the pool and it looked like he actually put some effort into it, that we would stop a few minutes early so he and Decker could have some more time to swim.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, she goes, well, he looks me straight in the face and says, so does it have to, is it how I think I swam with effort? Or is it how you think I swam with effort? She goes, Grayson, no, I have to feel like you swam with all your effort. He goes, because my effort might seem to be different from what your effort might be. She goes, yeah, it probably is, but you're going to have to swim with the effort I think you're doing. He's like, oh, okay.
Very funny. Well, he must have lived up to the expectation, though.
Well, she said she made him do it twice.
That is 2 laps. That does count as laps.
But he is so our loophole kid. He's like, so does it have to be what you think how much I tried, or is it how much I know I tried? She's like, me.
Nice. Yeah. Before we start, I am freezing my tits off, so I'll be back in a sec. I'm going to grab my Woody.
Okay.
All right, just a sec.
Is it the panda one? It better be the panda one. Kitty. Hi, kitty. Yeah. He's like, so does it have to, is it me who thinks I did the most effort, or you who thought you did? She goes, Michelle, I couldn't believe you said that. But yeah, you could. She's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, but. I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, shit.
Wow. Yay, it's the panda hoodie.
Well, that helps a little bit.
Best sweatshirt ever, by the way. Like, I want to steal that freaking sweatshirt. It looks so fuzzy and soft and comfy.
Oh, it is. I know it looks ridiculous, but I don't care.
Oh, it's adorable. It's awesome. You rock it really well. Like,
I rock anything. So, all right. So I suppose we'll make a start whenever we're ready. Yeah.
Yep. Let's get going, I guess.
Sounds good. All right. Just let me know when you want me to be quiet.
Now,
okay, if I get a moment of silence. And welcome to the Starbright Project Quantum Leap Returns Special number 3. I am one of your hosts, as usual, Aaron Moss. And as always, joining me, sitting right next to me over on the couch, is my beautiful wife, Michelle.
hello, I'm Tarina, and I'm a hooker from 1999.
Well, I guess Trina's joining us tonight, but speaking of hookers from 1999, also joining us from the Maryland Down Under, Hayden McQueenie.
Well, damn, Tarina. A 1999 hooker. Done pretty, but gets job done.
That face makeup, man. That's all I gotta say.
But I do have to say, though, this trilogy of specials, much better than the actual trilogy that we got on the Quantum Leap show.
I enjoyed the trilogy, but you know what? We've already talked about that.
Can you turn Hayden up just a little bit? Thank you. Hayden, can you talk, please?
Yeah. Am I loud enough now?
A little more. I'm only hearing through one ear, so
Let me turn the headphones up.
that's
No,
what I
honey, that you're hearing.
go. A little too loud. Right there.
How's
Thank
that?
you. Oh, perfect. Now I can
Yeah.
hear.
So once again, this is our third of possibly 4 specials leading up to the return of the Quantum Leap TV series.
I think I've watched more Quantum Leap in these series, these specials, than I have like her whole entire podcasting.
Well, not quite, but
It
you've
feels
watched.
like it.
You've
It's
watched
getting up there.
It
9, well,
is.
technically 10, because we're not talking about it, but we rewatched Deliver Us from Evil. So
Yeah.
it's 10 episodes.
My brain's a little Swiss cheese.
That's just a hair over the first season.
Oh my
But
gosh.
but yes, we are talking about 3 more episodes. Again, these are episodes that I've picked out that I think
I have to watch.
ties into either the project or Al or Sam directly. And I don't know. I just think they're good ones for Michelle to watch. And I think they answer some of her questions, bring up some other questions. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we go any further, though, I do want to bring up once again, remind everyone about our contest we're having.
Yeah, you can win a
Ooh.
Blu-ray set of the complete Quantum Leap series. Well, seasons 1 through 5.
Because we're calling this new season, season 6, or this new show, season 6. So
You want to tell them how, Aaron, since I told them last time?
either write it, try that again. So write in and let us know your favorite episode of Quantum Leap, your favorite episode, and why it's your favorite. What do you like about it? You can either email us at starbright@headcastnetwork.com. Again, that's starbright@headcastnetwork.com. Or you can go to our Facebook group and leave a message over there. And that is facebook.com/groups/headcastnetwork. That's for all my shows, but you can go to there and leave a message. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/headcastnetwork.
And anyone that enters by the 1st of September will be entered in the contest. And the winner will be announced on our final Quantum Leap return special.
Have we got many entries yet?
Probably none.
Not yet. No, I haven't
Released.
as of this recording, I haven't quite finished the first special.
Oh, okay. Well, look,
special.
we're all leapers.
Oh.
I mean, going in a linear fashion with time shouldn't matter.
Also, not only that, but as we've been talking about, this is all leading up to Quantum Leap, what I'm calling the return. It's scheduled
Quantum Leap, the next generation.
or as you referred to it, Hayden, season 6. Quantum Leap is scheduled to air on September the 19th, 2022 at 10 p.m. on NBC, following The Voice. And we don't have,
apparently will also be streamed on Peacock as well.
And streamed on Peacock and hopefully some other places. But for our friends like Hayden, it's outside the continental United States.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm cautiously optimistic because one of our streaming services, which is called Stan, seems to be getting all the Peacock shows. So I'm hoping that we get it on Stan.
Fingers across for you.
How do you spell that? STAN or STAND?
No D.
No D. So Stan. Like Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious if I was hearing you right.
And I haven't really seen anything new come out regarding the new season or the new series or however you want to refer to it. So we're going to go ahead and move directly on to our episodes. This time we're looking at 3 more episodes. We're looking at Killing Time.
The Return of the Evil Leaper, Season 5.
And The Revenge. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll say the third one because I haven't said one yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Revenge of the Evil Leaper.
And those are all season 5 episodes. So if you haven't watched them yet, pause the show, go over and take 3 hours and watch them. And then, well, actually, just under 3 hours because it's like 45 minutes.
So it's like a movie.
So, and then come back and join us.
Probably a good idea to watch Deliver Us from Evil in amongst that as well, so you know what's going on with the Evil Leapers.
Yes, they do recap.
And also, keep going.
Go ahead, Hayden.
I was going to say, and also, we have some theories. You may want to watch Starlight, Star Bright, which is the episode immediately before Deliver Us from Evil as well.
So
there are theories that we could talk about from that as well.
So, me and Michelle watched Deliver Us from Evil. We're not going to talk about that except for maybe how it ties into the Return of the Evil Leaper, because we've talked about that previously. So
in our Fuck 2020 special. And 2021 and 22 aren't that much better.
No.
did you say something, Michelle?
Huh?
Were you gonna say something?
I just said no, they weren't.
Oh, before that one, I was talking. I thought you were gonna say something. Okay.
So the first one that we watched, beyond the, what was it called?
Killing Time.
No, the Deliver Us from Evil.
Deliver Us from Evil. So we watched that, and then the next one we watched was Killing Time, and this was directed by Michael Watkins, written by Tommy Thompson. The leap location and date was Pine Country, Oklahoma, June 18th, 1958. I can't see the paper when you do that,
Sorry.
Aaron. Original air date was October 20th, 1992. And the synopsis that was taken from Wikipedia is Sam leaps into Leon Stiles, Cameron Dye, a dangerous criminal who has taken Carol Pruitt, Connie Ray, and her young daughter, Becky Beverly Mitchell, hostage. I'm going to say that again. Sam leaps into Leon Stiles, Cameron Dye, a dangerous criminal who has taken Carol Pruitt, Connie Ray, and her young daughter Becky Beverly Mitchell hostage. Meanwhile, Al must find the homicidal Stiles, who has escaped from the project waiting room, leaving Gushy to act as a temporary observer.
And Connie Ray, she was on. Last time we talked about. I think it was last time. We talked about the little girl that played Sam's sister in the Leap home. Mm-hmm. She was on a TV show called The Torkelsons. If I'm not mistaken, Connie Ray played her mom in that same show.
Yeah. And I recognized the little girl. She was in Seventh Heaven.
I was going to bring that up.
One of the 100 children that those Catholics had.
Yeah, I think she was like the youngest girl or something.
She wasn't the youngest, but she was close there.
I think she was the middle one or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I just remember the oldest one and then the little blonde, which was Beverly.
I'm sure you remember Jessica Biel.
Oh, what you're talking about. Yeah. Anyways, the reason I wanted Michelle to watch this one is because I think it maybe answers some questions, or because she's had questions about the project and what life outside the project's like.
I do actually had a thought.
And so this shows some of the outside world from the project in 1999.
And this is future. Just a generalized question. And I actually remembered it, and I held on to it through a bunch of different shows. The door for the project, the holding pen door, when Al, the waiting room, the holding pen. When you see Al hologram up to Sam,
right,
and the door, it goes, you know, it does like this weird, like from floor to ceiling effect, usually, or ceiling to floor. When we see them come in and out the waiting room, does the door do the same thing?
Are you talking about the waiting room or the imaging chamber? The waiting room's the one that the Leapy stays in, and the imaging chamber is the one Al goes in.
The imaging chamber.
Yeah. So you're asking if what we're seeing actually is the door?
Yeah.
I would say so, because the door, like the physical door we do see, is one that slides up and down. So,
okay. I was curious.
So I'd say it probably is the same door.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we have seen the door slide up, slide down.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah. And it appears that they use pretty much the same set for the waiting room, though. So, because I seem to recall some of the decks leading up to the waiting room and the imaging chamber looking pretty much exactly the same.
It's really fun to see that part of the project, because it took them forever to do it. That's how I feel. Like, it just took too long.
We didn't really the project until season 4. And then they started showing a little bit more often.
I wonder if people started complaining like I would have.
Well, part of it was that I think that the show was so unique in concept, and also in the grand scheme of things for casual viewers, difficult enough to try and keep track of what was going on without adding that extra stuff. Don deliberately didn't want to bring that stuff in until later on in the series, once everyone knew what was actually happening.
Okay, makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense because Don's smart like that.
But this is interesting that in this particular episode, most of it actually isn't going to take place in, I think it was the 1950s that Sam leapt to.
Yeah,
Most of it takes place in the future, the 1990s, which is very interesting to see. And I've got
1999. We're gonna party. It's 1999.
today I'm going to party like it's on sale for 1999.
Where'd you hear that one?
That's on The Simpsons.
Doesn't sound like a Simpsons.
I don't really watch this.
Apu says that. Although Apu's been cancelled, so you may have to cut that out.
Nope.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but on the subject of, I suppose this episode mainly being set in the future, and it pretty much being Dean Stockwell's episode.
And he had a great leather jacket, by the way. Holy smokes, the black one was amazing.
Oh yeah, sexy as fuck. But I've got a statement that Tommy Thompson put up on his Facebook just after the news of Dean Stockwell's passing. He wrote, "With the sad news of Dean Stockwell's passing, I offer up the following story. I always felt Dean had too little to do on the show and we were wasting his immense talent. I pitched a story that was mostly a Dean vehicle, where the person Sam has leapt into escapes the facility and Dean's character Al is forced to hunt him down and bring him back before Sam leaps into his next life. Some of these stories were like math problems, but this one ended up being fun. So Dean is hunting this escaped killer in the futuristic world, which included him having to deal with a holographic stripper. To set this up, I think I'd seen Dean outside his trailer. Never unless he was filming. So the day comes and we are going to shoot the stripper footage. The young lady we hired climbed up onto a platform and began dancing and taking off her clothes. Our amazing camera operator, Michael Watkins, was shooting her with a handheld camera and it was going well. Suddenly, I look to my left, and there stands Dean, casually puffing on his ever-present cigar and taking in the action on stage. He looks at me and says, I guess I had to come out of my trailer more often. He winks at me, and we both continue watching the dance. This will be my everlasting memory of Dean Stockwell. Rest in peace.
Aw, rest in peace, Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But as we can see, I actually do agree with Tommy Thompson. Dean was very underutilized in the show Quantum Leap, as fantastic a job as he did. So I am glad that they gave him essentially a spotlight episode. It is cool that we got to see a bit of the futuristic world that they'd been teasing a little bit. And and obviously Dean hit it out of the park as he always does.
Very much so. Yeah, we've seen some impressive performances from Dean throughout the show, but yeah, this Killing Time, was very much more of a Al episode.
Yeah.
And Dean, as always, did a fantastic job. So
yeah. And with the new season that's coming out, we know that there's essentially 5 main members of the cast and 4 of them are based in the project. So it seems like we are going to get I suppose, quite a lot more project focus than we did throughout the whole original series, which I'm really looking forward to. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm definitely interested in seeing how they're going to handle the project and getting more, from some things I've read on, it sounds like they're going to do more of a serial, if you will, or not serial, but an ongoing storyline with the project while Dr. Song is leaping around in the past. So I'm definitely excited to see that.
It'd be a good way to kind of merge the anthology side of things with the serialized side of things you'd probably get from the project. Because, we all love the show and we all love seeing how it evolves. It's easier to see how something evolves and grows if you do have like a way to keep track of the order of events. So,
well, like Michelle was just saying earlier, she's been complaining for a while now that she wants to see more of, in quotes, the present time. So,
which was 23 years ago.
Wow. But yeah, so it's definitely interesting to hear to see what's going to come on. So,
Yeah.
but I know me and you have seen this Killing Time several times at least. Michelle,
Yes.
this is your first time seeing it. What are your initial thoughts on it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you want to skip it?
I enjoyed it for what it was worth. Even though it was definitely an owl driven or Dean Stockwell driven show, I liked the Sam stuff where Sam finds out he's in this killer's, persona or whatever. And, it, I don't know how I would react to that, especially with there being a young kid. Like, you could tell that that was just killing Sam. And
Well, especially when we found out that him being there caused things to change, and then the little girl gets shot.
yeah, like it's interesting now. I'm like, wow, now they're really playing with like the future, because before, they really didn't. I don't feel like they made much waves in the future as far as like that kind of stuff. But now I feel like you can switch over back to Hayden if you want. And
What's that?
oh, I was telling Aaron that he could put you back on the TV now so I could see your face
Instead of my notes.
instead of his notes. But yeah, no,
How could you not have me on the screen?
I know, right?
I'd rather my notes. No.
But
Should have gone to Specsavers.
what?
That here we have like a chain where you can buy glasses, and they have a series of ads where people do really humiliating things, and then the slogan is "Should have gone to Specsavers."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no, I just feel like they did a good job with, Sam being torn with what he had to do versus what his gut was telling him to do or what his heart was telling him to do. I felt like that was interesting. I liked the part where he was like, "No, I'm a doctor," and she's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Here, read, open up this and tell me something, ask me something you don't think I know." And he's like, "Do you think an illiterate guy is going to be able to speed read?" And I just thought that was really fun to watch.
Although I should point out, I'm actually an illiterate speed reader, so
Well, there you go. You proved Sam wrong. Way to go, Hayden.
What does that mean? I don't know.
He's illiterate. We can speed read.
Oh,
we're making a stupid joke.
I didn't. Your accent got in the way of it being what I thought you said. So,
What are you talking about? You're the one with the accent, girl.
I know, right? Huh?
Yeah. No, I really like this episode as well. And you are right. It was a very good balance between the scenes in the future and the scenes in, I think it was the 1950s where Sam was. There's a few things happening in Sam's side of the episode, though, which this is kind of with the benefit of hindsight, but there were a couple of things I didn't like. First of all, he breaks one of his rules. He's not supposed to let anyone know that he's actually not the person he's leapt into.
But see, I was like, I was like, we've seen that before. Because didn't he tell someone else about it recently that we saw?
Well, he told his sister about it.
Yeah.
And then.
But no one believed him there.
Right.
But still, and I'm thinking, I felt like this was a superhero moment where everybody on the team knows that the Flash is Barry Allen. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I felt the same way, Hayden. I agree with you there. I was like, no, you're not supposed. I don't blame the guy, because I don't think I would have been ever able to hold it out like that long. But I was like, I think we've seen him do that before, and it's not the first time. And I'm like, I really feel like I'm in a bad CW show right now.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, the mother and daughter did end up believing Sam, and it makes me wonder what having that knowledge might actually do to the future timeline, if that makes sense. So,
yes.
I mean, in any other time he said it, I think he said it in Honeymoon Express as well, but the woman just thought he was role playing.
Right.
And like you said, in the leap home, no one actually believed him. I think this is the first time he actually broke his rule, was believed. And now what are they going to do with that future information? And this is another reason why Starlight Starbright is another good one for you to watch when you've got a chance. That one's immediately before Deliver Us from Evil. And something in that one suggests that perhaps the evil leapers came about specifically because of the things that Sam has done in a couple of the episodes that precede it, like Starlight Starbright and this one. So it's too much of a coincidence that he does what he does in that one, and it goes straight into the Evil Leaper ones. It seems like there's an overarching story there.
One, rules are made to be broken. And second, it's not the first time he's broke his rules. I mean, again, he's not supposed to affect his own life. How many times he's tried doing that? And Al, so I mean,
yeah. Well, we know that he
break his rules.
We know that he got Donna over her daddy issues just so that he could abandon her himself, and that's probably a good reason why he shouldn't have done it. So,
but
yeah, the rules may be made to be broken, but there's definitely reasons why they're in place. And I think that we do need to see some consequences for his actions.
But see, one thing that happened from this episode, from him breaking his rules, is that he saved Leon. Because if he hadn't convinced the mom that he's not Leon, that he's Sam, she may not have fought so hard to save him at the end.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, something that Gushy said when he was appearing as the hologram to Sam, apart from time and space being a bitch, which it is. But he said that after he set Becky free so that she was safe and didn't end up caught in the crossfire, that Sam should have been leaping, but he couldn't because Styles wasn't in the imaging, it wasn't in the waiting room. But in the original timeline, she didn't die anyway. It was only Styles that died. Right. So Sam probably shouldn't have been leaping at that stage, even though Ziggy thought he would be, because he hadn't changed anything. He just put it back in the same sequence of events that was originally going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. There's actually a comic story which I really don't like, which has a similar sort of premise. Sam leaps in to I can't remember where it is, but it's some university that's creating some of the computer technology which would be important for the creation of Ziggy and the project. And he stuffs it up and then creates a big paradox where he shouldn't exist. And he has to put it back on track. And he leaps immediately after it's back on track. But I'm like, why'd he leap in the first place? He didn't change anything.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't like it when they take that sort of a stance.
Well, and they technically didn't do it this time. Ziggy said maybe he should have leapt, but again, there's been several times in the past, as I said, Ziggy doesn't know why he's actually there. They're just guesstimating. Yeah. Usually their guesses are pretty accurate, but they're just guessing a lot of times.
Yeah.
So
I get that. Maybe by this stage they've taken the stance that success has nothing to do with leaping. So maybe they thought at that stage there wasn't much else that Sam actually could do.
Well, they made that comment.
Yeah.
In Elite for Lease, I think it was.
Yeah, and also Lee Harvey Oswald. And
they determined that, success
doesn't actually affect leaping. So
right.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe Ziggy just thought, right, at this stage, he saved Becky. He might not be able to do anything else that's going to change anything from this stage. So This is probably why he should leap out at this stage.
But as we know, he was there to actually save Leon from.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's necessarily there to save Leon or more to save the sheriff from
that's what I would lean towards. I mean,
I say saving Leon, but
yeah, it's to save. I won't say save his soul, but to essentially save him the guilt and the PTSD and everything that would have come with
possibly his job,
and maybe his job. Yeah,
because for instance, if the mom hadn't been there, I forget her name now. I'm going to take a quick look. Carol. If Carol hadn't been there to stop the sheriff from killing him at that point, well, of course, then again, if Sam hadn't been there, Leon probably wouldn't have surrendered peacefully. So,
yeah. But that's another thing too. This has happened so many times now. Sam's there to correct a course of action after a major event has happened. Why didn't he leap to prevent that major event? In this case, Styles killing I think it was the daughter of the sheriff.
Yeah.
Why didn't he stop that?
I've got that note for next episode, actually.
Okay.
I've got a very similar note for the next episode. Yeah. But yeah, so, and we've asked that questions many times before. Why doesn't he leap in 10 minutes sooner and stop something from happening, or, you know, a year before to stop the main event from happening that causes all this other stuff?
Yeah. Well, thou shalt not, that execrable episode, you know, he had to try and put the family back together after the son's death tore them apart. Why didn't he just save the son?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's many others. A Portrait for Troyan's another good example. Not A Portrait for Troyan, sorry. No, not that one. Good Night, Dear Heart is the one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of others.
Yeah, there's several others that, if he would have left in either months before, or maybe, you know, a year or two before, or in the next episode, 7 years before, if he would have left in a different time and prevented another tragedy, that could have prevented this episode from happening the way it went. So,
now I know what you're talking about in the next one too.
Yeah. Now that you get a specific year, yeah. But
actually, I can think of a reason why he probably didn't in that case, but I will get there.
But, and then again, it's just maybe that GTFW wants, I mean, for whatever reason, the grand scheme of life, for instance, maybe these females needed to die for whatever reason. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, but if you believe that there is a cosmic plan out there, whether it's, you know, God, time, fate, or whatever, that's got some sort of cosmic plan, maybe the plan is for these women to die.
Yeah.
But Carol and her daughter wasn't supposed to. And the sheriff wasn't supposed to kill him. Maybe, you know, again, at this point, since we haven't had God, time, fate, or whatever coming on screen and explaining his, her, or their plan, we're just, much like Ziggy's doing, we're just guessing.
Yeah. And this is an interesting question. Do you think that they should have let Leon Styles live?
Who's they?
Well, they being everyone in the time period where he is from. Yeah. Do you think it's better off that he is actually wiped from the face of the earth?
Well, any killer, I feel like, should be wiped off the face of the earth. I don't care who it is. I mean,
if they're going to kill again, I would say. So if you're doing it to save a lot more other people, then yeah, that's probably the right way to go. But and that is what I think is likely what might have ended up happening. I mean, like you said, there ended up being a massive crossfire where other people ended up dead, and that might not necessarily be Styles doing the killing himself, but he's the one that's precipitating it all.
Right.
So, yeah. It's just something to think about. Makes me wonder, you know, what could be GTF Dubs' plan for Styles? Why does he want Styles alive so badly, even after Styles has done such evil things?
And like I say, maybe it's not, again, we're just guessing at the ultimate plan. Maybe it's not that Styles lives. It's just the sheriff didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he gets shanked in prison next week. We don't know.
That's a possibility.
The life,
death penalty, or
in lethal injection or something.
Yep. All right. Well, I just thought that was something interesting to think about.
Well, then that's actually a realistic, real life question. I mean, do you believe in the death penalty? Do you believe that certain people should be put to death? I mean, it's along the same lines of that. So, I mean, and that's the thing that we still debate
this day and age.
Yeah, you know, to this day, you know, is the death penalty a good thing? Should people be put to death? Or should people be, you know, kept on, you know, in prison for the rest of their life? Or should they give a chance to be, you know, released and made a working member of society again? And there's no right or wrong answer to that, in my opinion. I mean, it's hard to say. It's usually a case-by-case basis, but yeah, no, much like you, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I enjoy anything that deals with the project or Sam or Al directly. So seeing how we got to see 1999 We got to see 1999 hookers, what they were supposed to look like.
Ugly, my word.
More of the flashing lights and the glow in the dark body paint and all that fun stuff.
I don't know if I'd say she was ugly. I think it
The
was
woman
that.
wasn't ugly. The face makeup
Yeah.
and the outfit was horrific.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I was like, dang, good job, costume designer, dude. Like, he did a good job of, portraying what they thought 1999 was going to look like. I found it funny. The music that was playing, like the hooker music, was fantastic. And then I also liked that, she had either Alexa or Google turn the lights on for her. And
which was actually very forward thinking of Quantum Leap, because
fantastically.
Back in 1993, they didn't have that
Google
technology.
Yeah. No, I thought that was fantastic. Lisa wasn't clap on, clap off, clap on.
I think they were hoping we were past that by that point.
The clapper.
I did like that too. Lights get lower. I'm like, we got that nowadays. I don't think we had 1999. It took us a few more years, but we eventually got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that the big screen TV, like and that was a big screen TV probably for that time frame. But really, be honest with you, my parents had a big screen TV at that point. They had this huge, I don't even know how many inches it was, but it was a big TV, and it had this humongous wooden cabinet with it. And they paid like $3,000 for this big screen TV back in the day. And my mom and dad got it right before the Super Bowl, or it was New Year's, one of the two, either it was Super Bowl or New Year's. And I had a friend over, and we were watching TV that night, and we're sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden it just stopped working. It was like we just got it days into it, and it just stopped working. And I'm looking at my friend, and he's looking at me, and we're like, oh shit, we broke it, like, oh no. So that morning when my dad got up, and if you know my dad, like how not scary, because my dad isn't a scary man, but he loves his electronics. I mean, we have father-daughter bonding days at the electronics store. Like, that's our thing. And
Nice.
And he gets up, and I'm like, Dad, the TV, it won't work. And he's like, what? And so he starts looking, and he's like, gosh darn it. Usually it's God damn it, or other things. But
so if he's not swearing, you know that you're in trouble.
So what ended up happening was the actual tube went out on a brand new TV. The tube had gone out. And so it was really, really depressing, because I think it was, I keep saying it was the Super Bowl. My parents say it's New Year's Eve, but either way, one of those big events. We had this tiny little TV sitting in front of our big screen TV watching television. And my mom and dad said it was so depressing because they spent like $3,000 on this TV only for it not to work. So yeah. But yeah, so it was interesting to see this big screen TV,
Yeah. I do always love seeing like from a long time ago in media, seeing their interpretation of the future and how close or how far away it ended up being.
Well, the funny thing is,
Bradbury did a really good job with that.
Well, the funny thing is that this was 1993 when it came out, and it was 1999, so it wasn't that far in the future.
Yeah.
So it's funny. But yeah, my grandparents had a large screen projection TV. It had a box. They had to open up the front, and it had the red, blue, and green, whatever lights in the front that would actually project on the TV.
My aunt and uncle had that. Sheila and Jack had one forever. And if you didn't clean it, it'd get spider webs on it, and you'd see like the spider webs on the screen, and
occasionally a spider.
It was funny. It'd get dusty. You'd have to dust the things, but no, I like even Ray Bradbury in Fahrenheit 451. There was so much, forthright thinking. Forward thinking in that. It was crazy. They was talking about like walls of screens and just tons of stuff. It's my favorite book.
Actually, that reminds me, I'm going to show you a video. You can watch it. You can even put it in the podcast if you want to. It's of Arthur C. Clarke. He was the one that wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey, I think
Mhm.
it is. But
Right.
he was also a futurist, which is an actual scientist who specializes in the future. Uh, Now, Arthur C.
Tony
Clarke
Stark in the comics.
predictions. Well, that's part of the reason why he was able to make such accurate predictions. It's actually freaky how close what he said actually was to what happened. So, this is a video actually from 1964, and it's talking about what he was going to predict would happen within 50 years or so. And let's just say everything that he predicted is essentially true. So, hang on, I've just sent that link to you.
Do you want us to watch it now, or do you
Yeah,
want
you
us
may as well watch it now. It'll be well worth having a think about. I hope that's everything because I think should have only stupid thing.
you have to
So
turn up, babe? What are you doing?
this might not be the entire one, but it should be enough to get an idea of what his predictions were like.
So what about the city of the day after tomorrow, say the year 2000? I think it will be completely different. In fact, it may not even exist at all. Oh, I'm not thinking of the atom bomb and the next Stone Age. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough which has been made possible by developments in communications, particularly the transistor and, above all, the communications satellite. These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other, wherever we may be, where we can contact our friends anywhere on Earth, even if we don't know their actual physical location. It will be possible in that age, perhaps only 50 years from now, for a man to conduct his business from Tahiti or Bali just as well as he could from London. In fact, if it proves worthwhile, almost any executive skill, any administrative skill, even any physical skill, could be made independent of distance. I am perfectly serious when I suggest that one day we may have brain surgeons in Edinburgh operating on patients in New Zealand. When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk to a point, and the traditional role of the city as a meeting place for man would have ceased to make any sense. In fact, men will no longer commute, they will communicate. They won't have to travel for business anymore, they'll only travel for pleasure. I only hope that when that day comes, and when the city is abolished, the whole world isn't turned into one giant suburb.
How about a giant clusterfuck?
But it's unbelievable that he's making these predictions in 1964, and what is it? Just under 60 years later, every single thing that he said has happened.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
No, it's
yeah. So something that is fun to do is to have a look at what futurists are predicting for the next 20, 30, 50 years.
right.
Because it seems like they're able to do it very, very accurately. I mean, they're in the know. They know what people are working on.
Yeah.
So it'll be very, very cool thinking of some of the things that they come up with. But let's just hope that we don't have a lot of the doom and gloom that's being predicted as well. Which,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But I just thought that was really cool. And the fact that, if science fiction writers did want to make the most realistic possible representation they could of the future, they actually do just look to real futurists and get some knowledge of what they know is being worked on.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to Killing Time.
Your thoughts on that, Hayden? On killing
Yeah.
time?
Well, I was going to say, I suppose the only misstep in the episode is they never explain how Styles got a gun in the waiting room.
Yes, I was curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah. Or did they? Actually, they did, but they cut that scene for some stupid reason they had an aneurysm. Apparently he lies in wait for a guard just after being leapt in. And when the guard comes in to check on him, he knocks the guard out and steals the gun. So that explains how he ended up getting the gun and how he was able to threaten Al when Al came up to check on him.
Yeah, see, I read that in the book, in the Bible. And before that, I was like, well, did maybe the gun leapt with him, or a copy of the gun leapt with him, just like when Al leapt into the past one time he leapt.
Yeah.
He took the hand link with him.
That's what I chalked it up to be.
But Sam still had the gun in the past, so maybe it was a copy. Yeah. I'm not quite sure. Then I saw in the book tonight when I was reading that apparently it was a scene that they'd in fact filmed that Donald didn't like it, so they took it out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's if you look closely, it's a 90s gun. It's not a 50s gun.
Right? So you get that close
with
gun.
Yeah,
I don't know guns, so.
But well, I mean, you couldn't really tell unless you were looking. But if you did look, you'd know it's not an older gun. So I just thought that's really the only misstep, because this device which enables him to leave the project and essentially force the story forward isn't actually explained.
Yeah, no, I agree. They should have. I think they should have left that in to give that explanation as to how he got a gun.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than just somehow he got a gun.
Janie's got a gun.
It wasn't Janie. Leon's got a gun. Oh, that's quite the same ring, but. Michelle, any thoughts on Killing Time?
It was a really enjoyable episode. I think out of all of them that we watched, it's my favorite one of the group.
Very nice.
So,
what, in the specials?
Yeah. No, not in the specials.
Just
in
the
this special.
Oh, the ones
all
we're doing
today. Episodes, yeah. Out of all these episodes we watched this evening, I think that one's my favorite. And again, it's mostly Dean Stockwell's acting and his costumes.
Fantastic job.
Just I like how he actually contemplated staying with the hooker for like a split second or two. He's like, no, I got no time. I'm like, dude,
well, I think she would have done it for free. She seemed pretty grateful.
I don't think that's her problem with it, Hayden.
Yeah, I don't think it's not the money. It's not the money. Trust me. $200. And I'm thinking, wow, $200? Like, what was a growing rate for hookers?
I was wondering where you were going with that. Like, how do you know?
And then I was like, is that cheap? Is that expensive? I'm thinking that's kind of like, if they're thinking like $200 was expensive, for 1999, what do you think the guy from the 50s thought $200 was like? I mean, that could almost buy you a new car probably back in the 50s.
Yeah, most likely.
So, I mean,
of course, he wasn't planning on paying her anyways. He didn't care.
Yeah, I know, but there was like no like holy smokes look, like, because you think that would have been.
Well, the reason I said that is because I'm a little slow at times. When that scene was going on, and he was, she was like $200. He's like, yeah, it's okay, let's do that. I'm like, what do you have $200 on him? Oh, wait a minute, you idiot! He's not gonna pay her. He's gonna kill her. Duh. My brain took a backseat for a second, and wait a minute, where does he get $200 from? Oh, wait a minute, Aaron, he's not going to pay her.
I just recently watched like a whole 3-hour video of a real serial killer and his confession, and so that kind of stuff was still kind of in my mind. I'm like, oh, he has mommy issues, and like. That's why he's killing all these hookers. And later on, it's like he had mommy issues, and I was like killing all these hookers. I'm like, yep, I called it. He wasn't, and so right away when he got the hooker, I was like,
he must have been bottle fed.
Hey, Grayson was Oh crap!
The boys are bottle fed. Wait a minute, that explains a few things.
Well, look,
wait a minute.
Yeah, I really enjoy this episode as well. Another couple of things that I enjoyed. I loved the fact that we got to hear Ziggy again.
Yes.
And the fact that she can communicate with Al verbally somehow through whatever technology they've got. Seems like there must have been some sort of a communication between Ziggy and Al's car.
Was she communicating with him, or was that just stuff she put on when she recorded the CD for him, or DVD or Blu-ray, whatever it was?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I thought
Well,
it was
maybe
just
not.
yeah. I think that was just
Yeah,
her.
she must have recorded it.
Yeah, because Al kind of replied to her, but didn't. You know what I'm saying? He just replied to the recording.
Yeah,
is the way I read it.
Yeah, well, I guess you're right. It's, just
They
something
could
that
have, but
yeah, but it's always nice hearing Deborah Pratt's voice, especially
no.
as Ziggy.
I love
And
her voice,
another
yeah.
futuristic thing that they got 100% right was tracking devices on cars. The fact that they were able to find Styles by tracking Gushy's car.
That's what I was going to look up, and I forgot. I was going to see when they started doing low jack and things like that.
Yeah. I would say probably the late 90s is about right. Or if not the late 90s, then at least the early ooze.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, again, while we're talking, I'm looking up real quick. And actually, the low jack system was created and patented in 1979.
So
In
at least the
1998,
idea behind it had been around for a while.
in 1998, they started offering it to heavy machinery and construction companies. They had a contract with Caterpillar. So, yeah, it wasn't like till 2013 that it was actually a thing.
Although they had, a lot of government clearance and all that sort of stuff,
Right.
maybe it was provided for them so that they'd always be able to get to the project if Sam was in need.
But like I say, it wasn't until 1998 that they actually started using it like on big equipment. So
yeah,
for them to use this in 1993 as an idea, again, like you were saying, it's very forward thinking of them. So
yeah,
and that's one thing. When I saw that, I was going to look up and see it, and I forgot to look up until you mentioned it.
Yeah. But no, I like the fact that in its really campy sort of form, they didn't get that much of the future wrong. So it's the only other thing that they really did get wrong was the fashion, but that may have just been Al's hangout. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Al.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's much closer than like Back to the Future and a lot of these other futuristic movies have shown, robots and moving and flying cars or self-driving cars we're actually getting, I guess. But
yeah. Oh, here's something that's going to blow your mind.
Oh,
The Jetsons was originally set in 2062, and George Jetson was 40. So George Jetson is born this year.
I've heard that. I've seen that on Facebook. I don't know where it was discovered or where it was announced or whatever that took place in 2062, but
yeah.
I never got a year out of it. But I've seen that on Facebook that George Jetson's parents are getting busy at this moment creating him.
But I think if we're getting into talking about the future and the Jetsons, then we might not actually have that much more to talk about with Killing Time, apart from the fact that we just thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great episode. Just 1 second, Hayden. Give me 1 second, Hayden.
It's all right.
Meet George Jetson.
His boy Elroy. So the Mega Millions, did you hear about that here in California?
Is that one of your lotteries?
Yes.
No. What's happened with it?
I'll tell you how much it was worth. Mega Millions jackpot was risen to $1.1 billion tonight.
Have you got a ticket?
We did. We didn't get anything, or else you would have been flown out.
I like the sound of that.
Yes, we would have Hayden, you're coming out and
watch
doing
party. And
yep, we would have had a watch party, and all of our friends would have been there.
Yeah, we'll get Deborah Pratt to come join us too.
Oh yes, I'll be I'll pay for your ticket, and then I can apologize in person for being an idiot.
Oh, now I'll be in Serenity out here and
Yeah,
had a big old
that would
party.
be great fun.
But it's not going to happen now. Sorry.
Well,
We could rent a movie theater out. That would have been fun.
Yeah, you can rent them out. So yeah, I ran Edwards out for the night or whatever. And
Thank you, Aaron.
okay.
so any final thoughts about Killing Time, Aaron?
No, we've summed it up. I mean, it was a great episode. It's I want to say it's in my top 10, but I've got so many in my top 10 already. So I don't know. Like we said, there's a lot of great episodes of Quantum Leap, but this is a good one because, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, anytime we're dealing with the project itself, or in this case, we saw the future, we saw more of the project. We got Gushi. I loved. My mind just blanked out. The actor that played Gushi. I loved him.
Dennis Wolfberg.
Thank you, Dennis Wolfberg. He was a stand-up comedian. I loved his comedy. I was saddened to hear he passed away back in 1994. I was going to
pretty much just after Quantum Leap finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to a friend's house every Monday night and role played. We didn't play D&D, but we played games like D&D. And I'd heard that he passed away. What's that? Okay,
I said
very
kinky.
much so. Especially Red Leather Night, but that's another story entirely. And I'd heard that that Dennis had passed away. I'm like, oh wow. First I'm like, oh, I'm sad for for his family and all that, but he lost a great comedian. And then, oh wow, if they do bring Quantum Leap back, no more Gushi. Oh, that's sad. That's even sadder. But no, I say loved hearing Deborah Pratt as Ziggy. Al's outfit was fantastic as always. Jean Pierre does a fantastic job.
Yeah. Although by season 5, I'm not sure how much of Jean-Pierre Dorliac. I'll say that again. I'm not sure how much season 5 Jean-Pierre Dorliac actually did. It wasn't very much. He was he left just a little bit into season 5 and was replaced by Jacqueline St. Anne. So I don't know if this particular episode was Jean-Pierre or Jacqueline, but either way, great job to whoever did it.
Al's always got great clothes.
Yeah.
I want Al's wardrobe.
No, you don't need Al's wardrobe. You can't even match what you have.
That's right.
Let alone the clothes that man wore. You would wear like the red jacket with like green pants and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
We have to all get ourselves a stop sign jacket though. Apparently you can buy them. I've just got to hope I can get one in my size.
Yeah, same here. But unless you guys have any other thoughts on Killing Time, but as I said, so we've moved on to the Jetsons. I don't think we do. So let's go move on to the next episode we watched. So me and Michelle, we watched Killing Time, and then we rewatched Delivers from Evil just to refresh Michelle's brain on the Evil Leapers. And again, I don't know if I want to call it evil, but we'll talk about that. We moved on to the next episode, Return of the Evil Leaper. Michelle, do you want to read this again or read me to it?
Yeah, no, I'll read it. So Return of the Evil Leaper was directed by Harvey Laidman, written by Richard C. Oakey. The leap location and date was North Falls, New York, October 8th, 1956. And the original air date was February 23rd, 1993. The synopsis, did you get this from Wikipedia?
Yes.
Okay. So the Wikipedia synopsis is a nerdy college kid, Arnold Watkins, played by Tristan Tate, who dresses up as a superhero. Sam must stop Mike Hammond, Neil Patrick Harris, Doogie, from operating dangerous chicken races as part of his fraternity's initiation ritual. In the
Project Quantum Leap.
Okay, and I was like PQL. What the heck? In the waiting room, Al must convince Sam's host to give up his dangerous lifestyle and help him deal with witnessing the murder of his parents. Kind of like Bruce Wayne.
Batman.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne.
I'm Batman.
No, I was being silly. However, the sudden return of the evil leaper Aaliyah Renee Coleman and her observer Zoe Carolyn Seymour makes the task significantly harder. And the note, because this character's ongoing interaction with Al in the was that for later?
You can read now. It's fine.
Go ahead.
There was a note here because of the character's ongoing interaction with Al in the Project Quantum Leap waiting room, as compared to the brief appearance of the host in most episodes. Actor Tristan Tate is credited as a guest star in the opening credits. So that was the Return of the Evil Leaper.
Cool.
So again, I like to start with Michelle since me and Hayden have seen these multiple times. Well, I know I have. I'm assuming Hayden has seen them all as many times as I have.
Most likely.
At least. Michelle, initial
Mhm.
thoughts on the Return of the Evil Leaper?
They're okay. I'm not a fan of these.
Okay, I'm done talking to her. Hayden, so see, I like the Evil Leap. I like the other leapers. And I especially like this
It
one.
was cool seeing other leapers. I just was like, okay, I'm over this already. Like, I wanted to get back to our normal stuff. I don't know if maybe I'm just getting a little bit desensitized with everything. And it's just, I'm getting in the groove of just what the show's about or whatever. And like I told Aaron, when Dean got shot, I was like, this kind of sucks because I know he lives because I've seen other ones. So I was just like, there was no, like the other episode we watched where I had like a big reaction.
When
This one was
When
just like,
St. John showed up.
yes.
yeah, this one was just like, meh, he's going to get back up, waiting for him to get back up. When's he going to get back up? He probably had a bulletproof vest on. Like all of these things are going through my mind already. And so it kind of took the thunder away from it because it was definitely a dramatic moment because you see Al on the floor and blah, blah, blah. And I'm probably merging them all together in my head because I don't know which one's which. But
Well, in Quantum Leap's defense, though, when you watched A Leap for Lisa and Sinjin appeared, we'd watched episodes that took place after that already. So you knew that Sam or Al was going to be there.
huh?
You said it wasn't quite dramatic when Al got shot because you've seen episodes after this with Al.
Yeah.
Well, when we watched Leap for Lisa, where Sinjin took Al's place, we'd seen episodes after that with Al, such as the next episode, which was
but
Lee Harvey Oswald.
I never seen anybody go into or switch places
Right.
without. So, excuse me, that's where that came from. Was like, oh my gosh, what? Where's Al? I knew he was coming back, but
Yeah.
that was a new
Right.
thing. Where this was like, nah, he's gonna come back.
So-
it's not like Game of Thrones where you sit there and you hold your breath because you're like, please don't kill my favorite character off. Please don't kill. I know he's coming back. But I will say this. There was something I read on the internet and it
Spoilers.
said when Al died. And I was like, what? And I didn't read it anymore because I didn't want to read it anymore because my truth is, and even my daughter confirmed it just the other day. She's like, Mom, I haven't read my last book to my favorite series because I know one of the characters dies. And if she's laughing in the other room right now, and she's like, and if I don't read it, then they're not dead. I'm like, see, that's correct. You haven't killed them off yet. And
They
you're
still die.
I don't know. They don't. Not yet.
Yoda's dead.
So, but still, like, it's just
Yoda died.
no. Yoda is a
Snape kills Dumbledore.
fictional character. So Yoda cannot die because Yoda is a non-fictional character.
And Dumbledore died.
No, Snape hasn't died yet because, he died. He did die after I read the book. But for the longest time, like I refused to read it because I knew Snape was going to die, and I wasn't going to go there.
So I like this episode for two reasons. One, the evil leapers, and also I like the main character in here thinks he's a superhero.
That was
So,
fantastic, and
so,
he
of course,
did a really
that-
good job.
That really attracted me to this episode.
Yeah, his costume was funny, and I like how we find Sam like hanging on the top of a car when he first. I mean, the poor guy gets put into so many different horrible predicaments at the beginning of his leaps. It's kind of funny.
So the question for you, Michelle, is
Yeah.
who gets in the worst predicaments at the beginning? Sam, or Jeffrey and Bog over on Voyagers?
Jeffrey and Bog, because most of the time theirs are more dangerous, and I'm sure Bog would love to be in Sam's shoes, where how many times he's leapt into like women making out with him. So, but great question. I will say that, well, and this is another one where they tell I think this is the one we're talking about. Yeah, oh no, this is the first one before the last one, right?
Right.
Okay, then I'm going to back up on my comment.
Well, say what you were going to say. I'm still interested in hearing what your train of thought was.
Well, I was going to say, here's another episode where they tell that they're from the future again. But that was in the other one when they told the guard.
Vivian.
Oh, yeah. That's in the next one.
And that's, I think, when I had that thought process of I'm watching a horrible CW show again, because again, he tells her I'm from the future. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's neat. Don't get me wrong. I think it's neat that this time at least I get a bigger picture of the evil leaper, I think, in this one. Or is this the one where they introduced her?
No, she was introduced in the one that we watched and we didn't talk about, the Jimmy one.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm getting all three of them kind of blurred. But no, I thought it was interesting to find out kind of that Aaliyah is the pawn. Like, she's not necessarily the evil leaper. It's the owl person, the hologram that's Zoe, that is the evil person, or being, who is taking orders from and then ordering her to do whatever. She's kind of like her little meat puppet per se.
And that was kind of my point earlier, that I don't consider Leah an evil leaper. And Sam brought this up in this episode, that last time they met, that she didn't shoot him. So she's not evil. She's
being forced.
Yeah, I was gonna say misguided. That's not really the right word, but yeah, she's being forced to do this.
She doesn't want to go back to wherever she was from. Like, she's afraid to go there, because she even says, "Don't let me go back to that yucky place or hell or whatever the case may be." I don't know. I found it interesting, the whole like they touch and they merge thing. Okay, whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm just not one of those people that like falls for those kind of tropes, I guess.
Well, I mean, them touching and seeing each other's just a way for the.
And I think they have the hots for each other, majorly hots for each other.
I think Sam does care for her,
and that kind of. That kind of goes against. Well, no, it doesn't, because Sam doesn't remember his wife.
Right, he doesn't remember.
So I was gonna be like, if it's one thing for him to, have to bump uglies with people within the circle of who they're leaping into, but this is like an actual like other project person. Right. So I feel like the other project person and Sam should not be bumping uglies, because that kind of goes beyond his duties, if that makes sense. Oh, yeah. But his memory of not knowing his wife, I now get that.
And see, and that's one thing that I've kind of, again, I hand wave things because that's what I do. I wonder how much of his feelings, because again, you haven't seen a lot of this yet, but there's a couple of other episodes where he falls for the person he's romantically attached with or whatever. He's the woman that's in the picture with him. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much of that is just that now that you know that there is a Donna still in the picture, is that his memories, his feelings is missing that gap that Donna would fill. And so it's searching. Yeah. Void. Thank you. That's a good word for it. A void where Donna should be at. And so he's trying to fill that with something. And that's why he falls head over heels in love
so easily all the time.
Yeah, because there's a gap there that should be filled by Donna, but since she's not there, his mind or his soul or something is trying to fill that gap.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is the fact that he and Aaliyah really are the only people that would understand what each other is going through. As
that doesn't help. Yeah, that doesn't help matters any either.
I
Yeah,
think Aaliyah was. It's hard to tell if Aaliyah actually meant what she said in Deliver Us from Evil about Sam being the only person who could understand what she'd been going through and use that to seduce him, whether she meant it or not.
and I think she
It's
partly meant it.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious though that she does feel something similar and
Mhm.
can use that to manipulate Sam if she has to, or else move on with what she wants to happen. Well, they both want to happen, I suppose. Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't word that very well, but I was just trying to point out that I think that you are right. Sam is trying to fill a bit of a void, but also the fact that
He's
he
trying to fill her
has
void.
found someone who understands him so well. That would be part of it as well.
So, Hayden, what are your thoughts? Since Michelle doesn't care for it as much, and I really enjoy the Evil Leaper, what are your thoughts on the return of the Evil Leaper?
Okay, well, of the 3 Evil Leaper stories, I think this one's the weakest, but I still do enjoy it immensely. There's a couple of things that stick out to me. When Sam leaps in, he essentially leaps in on top of the speeding car.
Mhm.
And then after he manages to get the guy to stop um, and not end up dead, Al tells him that he should have leapt because he changed history. But what did he actually do to change history? I mean, it's
Well, I think in the
exactly the
original,
same thing.
I think
Well,
in the
it's
original
exactly the
history,
same thing that Arnold did, wasn't it?
and I'm assuming somehow Sam leaping in caused it to play out a little bit differently because supposedly Sam and the guy both died in the original history.
Mm.
So
Yeah, but
that's
I don't understand how that happened though, because like unless Arnold fell off and got run over, and then the other guy couldn't
right.
stop himself, and ended up crashing. I don't know, but it
And
just
Arnold
seems
stuck with his
like
wheel.
it just seems like Sam actually didn't do anything to change history there, even though he somehow
Right.
did. I also wanted to point out this is one of the few leaps where what Sam does in the leap is kind of inconsequential. It's what the leapee does in the waiting room, which is the important thing. The fact
Right.
that he had to get some therapy in the waiting room and, get it to the point where he's not going to try and put his own life in danger anymore before he can actually leap back.
Right.
We don't get to see that sort of a leap very often, but I thought it was done pretty well here. However, do you think Al should have been the therapist?
I had that thought also.
Yeah,
They've
well,
got
they have a they have a
psychiatrist.
psychiatrist there. Why
Yeah.
aren't they using Dr. Beeks to help? Um,
Other
I
than
mean,
the
they
fact
did
that maybe,
establish that. I was going to say they did establish that Arnold trusted Al.
yeah.
So maybe that's the only reason why, because Al might have been the only person he'd open up to.
Well,
But
that maybe
still,
because Al was a guy, and they could relate one another to better one another, both being guys, maybe.
And they both were orphans.
Yeah, and then
yeah,
Al does have that. His mom abandoned him. His dad, left.
yeah. Well, I get that, but I just thought it was a missed opportunity for us to actually see Dr. Beeks and
Mm-hmm.
put her actual psychiatry skills to the test.
Yeah, they got a resident psychiatrist. They should. Yeah, I agree. They should have. I don't know if they couldn't get her, the actress again, or
Yeah.
what happened. But yeah,
Maybe they just couldn't afford it. I do remember Deborah saying that in season 5 their budget was slashed so much
yeah, that's
that
what I've
they
heard.
probably just couldn't afford to bring her in,
They're
which is a
already
shame
paying
because
Al.
what
Yeah,
was that? Sorry.
logistically, I could see that they're already paying Al. I'm sorry, Dean to be there. If their budgets are even slashed, no sense paying another actress to come in and do something. Well, you know what? We got Dean here. Let's use him. And again, Dean can do it.
Yeah.
As we've talked about, he does a fantastic job at whatever he does. So
Yeah. Oh, he knocked it out of the park.
yeah,
No one's going to dispute that.
no,
But yeah, it was just interesting that that's the path that they took. That's all. I will also point out. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, Aaron. I should let you
that's fine.
speak.
I keep interrupting you. I was gonna make a comment about that. Oh, And it probably would have made it a little bit better if they would have had like a line of dialogue to say why Verbena couldn't be there.
Yeah.
Maybe Verbena was on vacation or she was dealing with another issue or something. One line of dialogue, I think, could have fixed that.
Yeah,
As
I think so too.
someone looking into your guys' conversation, I'm going to say one thing. As much as it would have been neat to see her, I really don't care. I'd wanted to see Al anyways. So it would have just been kind of like, yeah, it would have been great if she like peeked in or was there with him or whatever the case may be. But honestly, I'd rather see Al do it than her.
Well, that's because you really like Al,
I
which is
do.
perfectly fine. That's a great. I don't think either's going to argue about that. But logistically speaking, a trained psychologist would have been better to talk to this kid.
Yeah, but for the show, it just
Than
doesn't
Al,
seem
but-
fitting.
Yeah, I have a feeling if they did an episode like this in the new season, I'm pretty sure that is it Jen, who the Asian actress. I think she's going to be playing their doctor and psychiatrist. So we probably would have ended up seeing a scene with her in that sort of position if they
course,
were
yeah.
to do something like this.
I also feel like you're going to see more screen share time between all the actors versus it just being Sam and Al, and then maybe Gushy every once in a blue moon, or the first time we've seen Tina, or Dr. Weeks.
I think we saw Tina once.
That's what I'm saying.
No, so I think we only saw Tina once. We saw Verena twice.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're going to get a lot more screen time than what the other players of Quantum Leap were actually getting. So
yeah, I get that. I also wanted to point out it's getting to the stage where Sam is mind merging an awful lot with his counterpart in the waiting room. It seems like everything from Lee Harvey Oswald onwards, he seems to be taking on more and more of the persona of whoever he's leapt into. I mean, it's cool to see, but at the same time, it does make you wonder how much of Sam is actually left. Because we've seen Shock Theatre, we know he's getting a little bit of every person that he leaps into and keeping that person or that part of that person, and presumably whoever he leapt into is keeping a part of Sam. So how much of Sam is actually still Sam?
And you saying that makes me want to go back to Killing Time for a second.
Yeah,
and I think it would have been. I don't want to say better, but I think it would have been better if they would have had a little bit more maybe of Leon merging with Sam in that.
Yeah. Well, maybe Sam did have to tap into a little bit of Leon, though, when he was on the phone to the sheriff and saying, you come near me, I'll kill him.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. That seemed a little out of character for Sam. I mean, I know he was acting.
And he apologized right after. I think it might have been maybe if he didn't apologize to the mom and daughter right away, it may have made it seem a little bit more like there was a little more mind merging going on. Yeah. But I mean, again, don't get me wrong. I enjoy Killing Time. I'm not complaining about it. I just think, again, hindsight and looking at all these, I think it might have made it a little bit better and a little more, I was going to say cohesive, but that's not really the right word because it's cohesive as it is. But it would have made that.
It might fit in with the direction that the show's going.
It seemed to be going, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Something we haven't actually talked very much about are the evil leapers. I've thought about it. This episode's set in 1956. Now, you were saying, why didn't Sam leap in when Arnold was 7 and save the parents? Well, Sam was born in 1953 and he can't leap out of his own lifetime. So he actually wouldn't have been able to do that in this case. But it does bring up an interesting point. If we're going to go by the original scripts, we know that the Evil Leaper project is from the 2020s. How old is Aaliyah to be able to leap back to 1956?
Well, or maybe it's a different project. Maybe they've overcome that limitation.
Yeah. I'm sure we can come up with an explanation for it, but either Aaliyah's in her 70s or else, or else, yeah, like you said, at the project that they're from, they've come up with some way to be able to leap past a
What is it
person's
called?
lifetime.
Quantra or whatever it is. Yeah, I think
the
maybe
Quanta project or whatever it is they wanted
they
to
were
call
able
it. Yeah.
to overcome that limitation of leaping with your own life, and they can send them anywhere.
It would have made sense maybe if Zoe had been the leaper, because Zoe looked to be about Al's age.
Yeah,
But actually, she's probably younger. But
I was saying,
just
that would be,
in terms of the fact that you can see the massive age difference between
that would be
Aaliyah and
interesting
Zoe.
for her because I mean,
Yeah.
Hey,
But
Hayden,
yes.
check your Facebook for a second. You're resting it.
Oh, you've just sent me something, have you? Let's have a look. You sent me a picture. Let's hope it opens up eventually. Come on. He's fallen asleep behind you.
He's snoring and sweating on me.
I guess that's how much our listeners absolutely love our conversations. Make him go to bed.
He was in bed, but he walked in here and just laid down. I'm like, this is how uncomfortable. This is how a mom podcasts.
Oh, that's very, very funny. Yeah. But what I was saying about the Evil Leapers as well, it seems like their project has a much greater control over the actual leaping process. We see at the end, it seems like Zoe is able to initiate a leap, even though it seems like Aaliyah is lost in time. They probably can't get her back. There's a good chance that they can at least force her to leap out and maybe put her somewhere worse than she had been in before.
right?
She even herself said that she was tortured after her failure against Sam the first time. We don't know how, but there's a good chance that, Lothos decided, no, we've got no hope of winning this now, leap her out, but put her in some really dire situation where she's going to be tortured really, really badly.
See, and is that what you got, that she was leapt out and leapt into a different situation? I was wondering if she was pulled out and Leah herself in 2020 or whatever it was being tortured until the next leap.
Well, I always just assumed that I always just assumed she got leapt into a more dire situation where
that could be
she's going to get tortured. But look, there is the distinct possibility that the leaping process itself could be torturous if they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So, because you could see her, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Her being
writhing in agony.
Yeah, writhing in agony, and also looking like she's starting to fade away. So look, I don't actually know, but to me it seems like, at least with the level of control that they've got that we've seen, they could easily just put her in some horrible situation where she'd end up being tortured. And that's also part of the reason why she's so scared to go against Lothos, and why she would do those horrible deeds she's had to do. We also don't actually know how much time has passed between, like, for her perspective, how much time has passed between when she leapt out at the end of Deliver Us from Evil and leaping in here. I mean, for Sam, it's only been a few leaps, but it could have been years for Aaliyah, for all we know. And that all those extra horrible deeds that she would have had to do in the process.
1 second. And she talks about going through hell and the torture she's been under. And maybe it's not necessarily a physical torture. Maybe, like you said, maybe they've had her leap into things and made her do horrible things. Which, again, like I was saying, and Sam said in this episode, is that Aaliyah is not necessarily evil. So I think Aaliyah is a good person, if you will, being forced to do bad things. And so, I mean, if she is at least a decent person, if she's being forced to do horrible things, that could also be considered a hell.
Well, yes. I don't know if you can go so far as to call her a good character, though, because we'll see in the next one. She asks, why do people do good things for other people? So, I mean, there's a good chance that she doesn't have that kind of feeling of empathy towards other people. But that could also just be being desensitized to it from having done all those horrible deeds for so long.
Well, but that was also again, we'll talk about that more, but that was also Angel.
Partially, but
Well,
even the
she
tiny
was
little bit of
first
angel that
Angel.
she had, even the tiny little bit of angel that she had in her would still be just a tiny little mask. It's mostly Aaliyah underneath.
So I
So
don't. We'll talk more
yeah,
about that here in a minute, but
yeah. But she also says that when she's going to tell Sam that she's going to kill him and deliver us from evil, you're not the first person that I've killed.
right.
So, and she didn't really seem to have that much remorse for it, at least at the time. Yeah.
But
So
again, if it's your life or someone else's, I mean, a lot of people's going to take,
yeah, well, that's true.
again, we don't know. And again, we're both just kind of guessing at this point because we don't know any of the background of Lothos and that project. It's just the three appearances we got during this show. So I'm hoping, I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping that they do have a return of Lothos. I know
Yeah.
you said that you've talked or heard about from Renee Coleman, and she's not really interested in acting.
No, not anymore. But Carolyn Seymour, who was Zoe, she's always up for it. So
So
we
I'm
might
hoping,
see Zoe somewhere down the track. That would be cool.
and again, we'll talk
Um,
about that next episode we're
yeah,
talking about.
but it is having talked about what we've been talking about with Sam's kind of losing himself
Mhm.
with every single leap that he does. I think it would be interesting if we see some of the origins of the Evil Leaper project, and then find that the one behind the curtain is Sam and had been all along. So
That
who
would be
knows?
interesting. That would be.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Now, where on earth does Sam get this idea that if they're touching and one of them leaps, then the other one would leap with them?
Yeah, really. It just was dumb.
Well, he created the project, so I mean that guess is as good as anything else. I would imagine. I mean, that's what I leave it up to.
Yeah.
Is it
Well, look,
just
yeah, he knows more than he's letting on with
right?
how leaping works. I mean, essentially, he's the one that created the string theory and
Right.
Project Quantum Leap, and there's a good chance that the evil leaping project is based on Sam's theories and then just like tinkered with a bit. So, yeah, I
And
suppose.
another reason is that I mean, look at Sam. He's a very optimistic person, and as we've been saying, this entire time through all these episodes, that when Ziggy predicts what needs to happen, Ziggy, he or she, whatever you want to refer to Ziggy as, is just guessing. I think a lot of that maybe just Sam is being, hopeful, and he's just guessing maybe that's what would happen.
Yeah. And I was also going to say the actual leap itself into the university and the chicken races and all that,
Mhm.
it actually seems pretty inconsequential, not just for Sam, but for Aaliyah. It's not really made clear in either case what their missions are. It seems like Zoe kind of says you got to deal with this Woody Allen type, but they don't actually say what they're supposed to do with him. And all that Al can really say for Sam is that he's got to keep Arnold alive. That's about it. So I mean, maybe you could say Sam's there to keep Arnold alive and Aaliyah's there to make sure he dies, but
Right.
at
And I
the
think that's
same
all it
time,
was. I mean,
yeah. But it just kind of seemed really inconsequential, the whole thing itself, especially because, as we see, the leap is resolved from the future, um, not from what Sam himself is doing.
right. But that's
Um,
part of the leap is what happens with
yeah, Arnold.
Arnold. Thank you. My mind blanked out.
Yeah,
I want to say, "Ow, that's not it." But yeah, I mean that's part of the leap is what Arnold does in the future, what Al does with Arnold in the future.
mm,
So I mean, and again, it's inconsequential to you, but to Arnold, that's a big deal.
mm.
Getting past his trauma and is so.
Yeah. Well, look, I just tend
And
to like where we see like the progression from what Sam is doing as
mhm.
to how he succeeds and leaps out.
Well, a question for you:
Yeah.
Aaliyah didn't leap in until after Sam was there.
Yeah.
So did Aaliyah only leap there because of Sam?
Well, that's a good chance
Because
because Al said that Arnold died originally, didn't he?
mhm. So
So maybe
Aaliyah wouldn't need to
Lothos,
be there.
yeah. So maybe for some reason, Lothos has picked up the change in the timeline and said, no, we're not going to accept that. But then again, Lothos had no idea Sam was there.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, all Lothos knows is that Al, Arn, the Mass Marauder lived, and he needed to die. So,
yeah, so you've got a good point. And like you said, this is essentially the second time that something that Sam has done has tried to be undone by Aaliyah.
mm-hmm.
His events from Jimmy, Aaliyah was trying to undo without them knowing that he'd done something originally. And then this is the second time, essentially, he saved Arnold, and then she leaps in, apparently, to make sure he dies. So it does make me wonder, do they have other leapers out there trying to reverse some of Sam's good? Does the whole project exist to reverse everything that Sam does? As we know, the B-man exists, apparently, and apparently he doesn't like Sam putting right what he made wrong. So is he the one controlling it? And is he trying to say, no, I don't want that changed, you go fix that, and well, wreck it again? It's interesting to think about.
But yeah, no, I love these episodes. I love the Evil Leaper. Evil Leaper. Again, I don't know how much Leah's evil or misguided, whatever, but we'll get more evil next episode. But
yes,
in my opinion, and I think Renee Coleman, I don't want to say she's a beautiful woman, but she's very, to me, she's got that girl next door look. Compared to like a supermodel, she's got that girl next door look, which to me is even better. But and that's why I say when I see a Renee Coleman, yeah, she's got that very much the girl next door look, which is, to me is much better than a supermodel. But
she looks a little more realistic.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I like Carolyn Seymour. I said we first saw her back in A Portrait for Troyan as the housekeeper.
Oh, Kabruka?
Miss Stoltz.
Kabruka, right?
Yeah, the housekeeper, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the housekeeper in A Portrait for Troyan that mysteriously vanished at the end. But, I think Carolyn Seymour does a fantastic job as Zoe. I love her. She's very, and I love, she's very much the counterpart to Al. When they're sitting there talking, she was like, she said that it's about college, how she liked the guys or something like that.
Frat boys were her favorite college subject.
Which was very much an Al reverse comment to me. I love that. But
it is always funny hearing Horn Dog Zoe.
Yes. Just like when we hear Horn Dog Al, it makes me chuckle. So
yeah, but look, even though I think it's the weakest of the Evil Leaper episodes, I still do enjoy it thoroughly. I do think it probably needed a little bit more to it. It's actually the shortest episode of the entire season, of the entire series, I should say. And that's partially because originally this episode and the next one were aired as a movie length episode. Right, yeah, and
2 hour Quantum Leap special.
Yeah, and the leap into the prison was actually a little bit longer, so it ended up being regular movie length. But when it's been split up, what was it?
Hang on one second, Michelle's moving, Grayson.
Okay.
The dude's like a freaking heater.
So
bring him over here. It's freezing.
Seriously, he runs hot like his dad. He sweats. And I'm like, ugh. Skin to skin contact is the worst.
You want to cuddle skin to skin, Hayden? I'll warm you up.
That?
I said, you want to cuddle skin to skin? I'll warm you up. Anyways, you were saying, Hayden.
What was I saying? I was saying, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, about this being the shortest episode. Yes. Yeah, it's actually the shortest episode in the series because the leap into the women's prison was a little bit longer, and when aired together, it made a full movie length one. I think that there were probably a couple of other things that they could have put in there. A little bit more about the Evil Leapers, maybe a scene with Dr. Beaks and Arnold, maybe.
The only problem with that is they would have had to cut the second part down a little bit.
Yeah, well, they still did, because like I said, there's all these cut scenes from that episode in particular that you can watch if you wanted to. But I was also going to say something that made me chuckle was Aaliyah freaking out about the midterm. Why would she give a fat rat's about that midterm? I mean, she's there to ruin lives. Why doesn't she just let Dawn fail?
I'm trying to remember now. Was she really worried about that, or was she just using that to get to Sam?
Well, she knew. Well, she didn't know Sam was there at that stage, and also she didn't really know that much about Arnold either. Just she had no idea that he was any good at science.
Right.
So, yeah, it just seemed maybe she was picking up some of Dawn's anxieties about the biology midterm.
I'll have to rewatch that and see now, because I don't remember her freaking out that bad.
Well, maybe not so much freaking out, but she was saying that she wished that she had a superhero who could help her get through the midterm. And so,
and yeah, I'll have to rewatch it, because I'm thinking she was just. I thought, and maybe I've been wrong. I've been wrong before. I still get the kids, but I assume she was just using that as a line, because she didn't know that Arnold was Sam, but she was still trying to get to him to ruin him. So,
but she wouldn't. I don't think that she really would have known, though, that Arnold was supposed to have been good at science either. So
I think she may have assumed it just because he's the classic nerd.
Well, there's that possibility.
They called him something earlier in
I'll
the show.
I'll rewatch that and see now, because now I'm curious. I'll have to rewatch that and see.
Yeah. Just something else interesting. Michael Manasseri, who played Jerry in the episode, the geeky guy that that Sam saved at the start, he played Wyatt in the TV series of Weird Science, and they actually had a Quantum Leap episode called Quantum Wyatt. So that was
I never watched the series, but I did see that in the book. But yeah. That was awesome.
So the episode itself is pretty fun, so you'd enjoy watching that, I think.
But real quick, I sent you the message regarding our last special about the post office.
Yeah, you did send me that message.
Yeah, I went, because I finally remembered Thursday on the way from work. I got to stop and ask. So I stopped and went in there and asked, and I'm like, so just a question. It's gonna be a stupid question, but if I had to mail a letter I needed delivered, but I need you to hold on to it for 50 years, would you guys do that? He looked at me like I grew a second and then a third head. Like, what? No,
just explain that you do this podcast about Quantum Leap, which is a time travel show, and that they use this logic with the letter to get through some things like in Back to the Future.
I do a podcast for a TV show that involves time travel, and they needed the letter to be delivered 50 years. Do you guys hold on to letters? He goes, no. You'd have to arrange another way to get it delivered at that time. Like, okay. That's what I thought. I just wanted to get confirmation.
Well, now we know. So that's why he sent the money and the letter to
the lawyer. Yeah. Whereas if he would have used Western Union, they would have held on to it, apparently. Per Back to the Future. See, now my next quest is when I have to find a Western Union office nearby and stop and ask them if they'll hold a letter for 100 years or whatever it was and deliver it. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up while I was thinking about it, because I'm like, I know I sent you the message, but I just wanted to bring it up. And yeah, like when I asked the guy, he's like, kind of tilts his head to the side, like, what the?
Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else that any of us really want to talk about with Return of the Evil Leaper?
I think that's going to cover for now. Michelle, did you have any other thoughts on the Evil Leaper?
Nope.
Didn't think so. You weren't a big fan of the Return of the Evil Leaper.
Yeah. Oh, should mention too, always great seeing Neil Patrick Harris in anything. So
yeah. As we're watching that, it's the first time we see Neil. Michelle looks. Is that Doogie? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Although
he'll always be Barney to me.
See, he's Doogie to me because that's the first thing I've seen him in. So he's always going to be Doogie to me.
Yeah. Well, that's
before
what
we move
everyone would
on-
have recognized him from at this stage
Yeah,
anyway.
because I think Doogie Howser was just ending around this time.
Yeah.
And Michelle did
But
have another question, real quick.
oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So Sam never goes home. I already know that. I
Spoilers.
don't but in the show, he's narrating what he's already done. How the heck is he narrating himself as he's going through what he's going through?
Well, I think we're seeing things from Sam's perspective as he's going through them. So we're probably just hearing the thoughts going on in his head at that time.
But he narrates it. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't narrate yourself. I'm gonna go to the supermarket.
Have you ever been inside my head? I'm
I
still
do.
trying to figure out the tab that has that music playing so that I can close it. That never-ending song that, for some reason, is always a really stupid tune. So yeah, I have a feeling that sometimes people might just have to take some time out. This could be like what maybe he goes through between leaps. He might kind of debrief in his own mind what he's gone through, and that's essentially what dreaming is. It's you trying to debrief and sort everything out in your head in the time that you've got to do it. So maybe we're just experiencing what Sam is when he's either between leaps or just landing somewhere, and yeah, and it's just him trying to make sense of everything that he's gone through.
Yeah, see, Michelle asked me that question. I'm like, it's just his inner thoughts. I mean, it's always been there. I mean, he's done that from the beginning.
Yeah.
I never really give it a second thought. It's Sam's thoughts. I don't question him. Well, that's a good question, I guess.
And remember too, we're not seeing every leap that he does. We know of at least one, that stand-up comic
Right.
leap immediately after the Simo leap. So maybe what we're actually seeing is him, is like his retelling of what he's gone through in a recent leap, perhaps. So
Yeah, there's no clear cut answer as to from the show as to why we hear his inner monologue. It's just it's been there, and I've never really questioned. I enjoy hearing his thoughts, so I never really questioned it. But that's why we have Michelle here to question things.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
Means I don't have to set her homework as much.
She gives her own homework. So let's go ahead and move on to The Revenge of the Evil Leaper. Michelle, did you want to?
Yeah. So, Revenge of the Evil Leaper was directed by Debbie Allen. Is that Flashdance? Not Flash, but famed Debbie Allen.
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
really cool.
And she was also top billing in an episode of Quantum Leap called Private Dancer. She also directed that one.
I'm trying to remember if we covered. I don't think we've covered Private Dancer yet.
I don't think we haven't. So
nope, I don't. Does name sound familiar?
So.
Yeah, Sam's a stripper in that one.
Oh Jesus Christ! So Revenge of the Evil Leaper was directed by Debbie Allen, written by Deborah Pratt.
Who?
Pratt. Deborah Pratt.
Just a joke.
Don't do that, because I actually was typing to somebody and wrote Donna Belisario, and I had to stop myself and like no, I said Donna Belisario. That's what it was, and I'm like, I know that's not right. And I had to think about it. I'm like, no, it's Deborah. I knew it started with the D, but I knew it wasn't a B last name. So yeah, I was all jacked up. But anyways, it was written by Deborah Pratt. Leap location and date was Mallard, Ohio on September 16th, 1987, and the original air date was February 23rd, 1993. Leaping into Elizabeth Tate, Cynthia Steele, in a woman's prison, accompanied by former evil leaper Aaliyah, Renee Coleman, who was left into the fellow inmate Angel Jensen. When Aaliyah, having been extracted from the evil project, former observer Zoe, Carolyn Seymour, who is the new evil leaper, accompanied by an observer Thames.
Timms.
Hilton, Thames.
Timms.
Timms.
like the river in England, Thames.
Oh, okay. The observer Tim's Hilton battle leaps into the let me do that again. Leaps into the prison's warden Sam Scarborough as Aaliyah had been traced there before. You do it, Aaron. My brain doesn't want to read tonight for some reason. I'm flipping everything now.
So Revenge of the Evil Leaper, directed by Debbie Allen.
No, not all that.
Okay, well, fine.
Just
Leaping into Elizabeth Tate, played by Cynthia Steele, in a woman's prison, accompanied by former evil leaper Aaliyah, played by Renee Coleman, who is leapt into fellow inmate Angel Jensen. With Aaliyah having been extracted from the evil project, former observer Zoe, Carolyn Seymour, who is a new evil leaper, accompanied by a new observer, Tim's, Hilton Battle, leaps into the prison's warden, Sam Scarborough, as Aaliyah had been traced there before contact was lost. Sam must help Aaliyah escape all contact with the evil project while keeping his host from being falsely executed for the murder of a fellow inmate. With the help from an honest guard, Vivian, played by Barbara Montgomery, to whom Sam reveals the truth of his and Aaliyah's situation, Aaliyah is able to escape for good. And again, there's a note on here, set in 1987. This is the most advanced date of any leap shown during the series.
Yeah.
So that was Revenge of the Evil Leaper. So, Michelle, I know you weren't too happy. You're not too happy with the Evil Leaper episodes. What do you think about this final Evil Leaper episode?
I thought it was boring.
Okay, so Hayden, what do you? you didn't care for this, Michelle?
I'm like I said, I'm not a big fan of the evil leaper stuff. There was a lot of neat stuff in it, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. So it's not that it was a bad episode or was poorly written or anything like that from my standpoint. It's just I just didn't care for it. I don't want another leaper. I mean, I asked those questions. I got my answers. I want to move forward. Like, okay, like I get it now. I understand it. Okay, cool. But she was too whiny for me, I think, in this episode.
Aaliyah?
Like, yeah. The character, the hypnosis thing was just kind of weird to me. Rumpelstiltskin was funny. I don't know. I'm ready for the Miss Deep South. I want to see Miss Deep South.
Well, like I suggested, I think we should do maybe one more special before the finale, just to do a few cool episodes, ones that Michelle's been wanting to see because she's seen them in the trailers, like Miss Deep South, like the Kiss episode, like the Stripper episode, any other interesting ones that we think that Michelle should experience.
The Marilyn Monroe one seemed really cool that they leaked out of too.
Yeah, this one.
So that was kind of cool. I was like, finally. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I do have a couple questions though. Like for instance, they kept saying like if so and so got killed while leaped in, that they would be killed in the waiting room as well, or something like that. So, did the guy have a gunshot wound? Or
okay. So you're talking about when Zoe got shot at the end and leapt out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know, but you are right. What happened was in that final confrontation, Zoe shot at Aaliyah, but Aaliyah leapt out just in the nick of time. And what actually happened was the bullet went through the empty aura that was left before Angel actually leapt back in. So
it's like we're
neither Aaliyah nor Angel were actually harmed there. As for when Sam shot Zoe, we can see that Thames forces Thames forces Zoe to leap out. So presumably she's gone back to the project and is either dying or has died, because we don't know if she left because she died, but it looks like Thames forced the leap. But also that you could see that when Myers did return, he didn't have any problems. He was fine. So
Mhm.
yeah. So this is another explanation of why it's got to be their bodies that leap and not just their minds. Because, like you said, if Zoe was shot and leapt out, and then Myers gets back completely fine, then yeah, the bullet must have hit Zoe herself and gone with Zoe when she leapt out.
So Zoe's in 2020 or somewhere in the present with a bullet in her.
Yeah.
Good. I hope
So
she doesn't.
presumably either she died or she got left back to the project and they did what they could to save her. So we don't know. We don't see any more Evil Leaper stuff in the series,
Maybe
at
we'll find
least the original series.
out. Maybe we'll find out in the upcoming season.
Like you said, maybe we'll find out. Did that make sense? Sorry, what
Yeah.
I was trying to say.
Yeah, and also I also was thinking that you guys are saying that the Evil Leaper was made because Sam did whatever, blah blah blah, in the past or future, but it felt like they really didn't know who Sam was until these episodes. Like they're like, oh, it was almost like he got in their way, and now they're out to get him because they know who he is and what he is. It didn't feel like they were created to go after him.
Well, we don't know that, but what I was saying was like we said, in Killing Time, he tells Becky and what was her name? Connie? No, that's not right.
Connie. No. Connie was
Becky and her mum who he is. So there's that knowledge there. In Starlight Starbright, just a very quick spoiler, he
Carol.
spills who he is to the government because he's under sodium pentothal. So there's enough knowledge now stuck in the past. There's also the hand link that's stuck in the past too from the leap back. There's enough artifacts now of like with evidence that Sam's actually been leaping that maybe some sort of government agency or rogue agency has found the project, which was supposed to be secret. And from there, that's where the opposing project might have been created. We don't know anything about Lothos or any who created that one. But it's quite possible that whoever is behind that project hasn't told Zoe or Aaliyah or Thames or any of the background behind it. Just that this project exists. You're going to be leaping around in time doing these missions, and maybe not even telling them that they've got to put wrong what once went right. Just saying,
Do this.
you're going to be traveling in time. Yeah, do this.
And that's what I was going to say to address Michelle's question is that Zoe and Aaliyah don't seem to know who Al and Sam is in the project. And Lothos seemed like he didn't know, but how much is he not telling them? Kind of what you were saying.
Yeah. So Lothos probably knew of Sam, but he might not be able to check well, I'll say that again. Lothos probably knew of Sam, but he knew that the chances of actually encountering him somewhere were essentially next to nothing, so never bothered to actually check. We actually saw that in Return of the Evil Leaper, because Aaliyah says, why the hell has he sent me here against Sam again? And Zoe says, Lothos is as surprised as you are. He's just going with the random event theory, a fantastic stroke of luck. So,
well, see, and my question for that is the question I usually have for these type of things: is that true, or is that what Lothos told them? Because I consider Lothos the I can't think of the name of it now. But he's not the
AI.
Well, no, it's there's a term for someone like for instance in Star Wars in Episode 8 when Kylo Ren told Rey that her parents were nobody and she's she doesn't mean anything, and people was like, well, see that proves that she's nobody, she's not related to anybody. Well, no, he's the and there's a phrase for that type of narrator. I can't think of the name of it now, but crap. And it was just a phrase for that type of person that's
like a superficial narrator who only says what's relevant at that particular time.
Well, and they're unreliable. Yeah. Unreliable narrator. I think it's the phrase I'm looking for. He's an unreliable narrator just because Lothos told Zoe and Aaliyah he doesn't know who Sam is. He doesn't know what's going on. Doesn't mean it's true. He may be just telling them that just to shut them up while he maybe knows more. Just like in Star Wars, as I was talking about, just because Kylo said all this stuff about Rey, he was an unreliable narrator, and it doesn't make it true just because he said so. Same thing way here. Just because Lothos told Zoe that doesn't make it true. She's on a need to know basis, and she didn't need to know. And as a government employee, I'm very familiar with that.
Anything else that you could think of that crossed your mind while watching this one, Michelle?
I'm trying to think.
Because there's certainly plenty that I can talk about, but
Go for it.
we all like hearing from you first. I'm just the old fart that rambles. So
Go ahead and ramble, old fart. I want to hear it.
1 second.
Where are you going?
Let me go pee real quick. Give me just 1 second.
Okay.
yeah, I might take a quick
Talk on the
break
too.
too. I'll be back in a sec as well.
Okay. Lex, your cat is snoring so loud. I'm hungry. I am.
Does sweetheart eat them all? Your husband?
No, I don't want any more of that.
Grab one or two and walk by. It probably doesn't much this time. I think the yard does too. Hey, Hayden's back.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that, DP. So
That's all right. I went to the kitchen to try and find a snack, but then I realized there was nothing to eat. So
I know, I'm hungry too.
as I came back from the restroom, she says, "I'm hungry." What do you do about it?
oh well. Hopefully dinner will be ready soon. All right, but getting into what I wanted to talk about with this episode. First of all, obviously we got confirmation that Sam's plan was successful and managed to make Aaliyah leap with him so that, she'd be under his project's care, I suppose. And we know that because Angel, who she leapt into, ended up in the waiting room. It was cool seeing the two of them in the waiting room, by the way.
Real quick, let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
I want to comment on that real quick. Wait, as you're going along, I'll comment on what you're saying.
Yeah.
I did like how when they first leapt, and Sam's like, again, ever optimistic, well, I pulled you with me, and she's like, well, maybe you're in mine.
Yeah.
I like that the little doubt she gave there at the beginning, like, well, maybe you leapt into my leap, and because we're in a women prison, both women, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, he said it's a 50-50 chance that it could be his leap. And I did also like, well, it does kind of seem like the sort of place that Lothos would leap them too, though.
Mhm.
So I do understand why Aaliyah is so certain why that it's her leap rather than his.
Well,
But
and
that
as
actually got me.
sorry.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
As I said, Sam tends to be more optimistic.
Yeah.
Aaliyah, due to what she's been through, is a bit more pessimistic. So
Yeah.
I do like the fact, Sam's like, well, I pulled you with me. You're in my leap now. She's like, well, maybe we're in my leap. Maybe I pulled you with me. I like the dynamic of the two playing off each other.
Yeah. But that did actually get me thinking. I actually would have liked this episode to be the other way around, for Sam to have ended up in Lothos's control.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what it would have been like seeing Sam essentially forced to do some evil deeds and then having Al have to go and leap after Sam to try and save him rather than the other way around? I actually would have really liked to see that.
It would have been a longer leap. It would have been another
Yeah.
episode, but I'm not complaining. Especially when we got Al leaping again. That would have been, I would have liked that.
Yeah.
And I like what we got, but I think that would have, yes, I agree, Hayden. That would have been a better choice.
way to go.
Yes.
Yeah. But having said that, though, with the overriding optimism of the whole show, I don't think they'd ever allow that. But it would have been cool to see.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, that'd been awesome.
Yeah. But having said that, though, Zoe as a leaper is fascinating. Obviously, they're able to pinpoint exactly who they're going to put her as because they deliberately chose the person with the most power, who's essentially able to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, to do whatever he wants.
Right.
When it's needed. So it essentially gives her free reign to try to find them. Hang on just a sec. What? Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
These are the American friends. Leave them alone. Oh.
No, it's all right. My mum I told my mum I was hungry. She's made me some noodles.
So. Hi, Mrs. McQueenie.
Mom, Aaron says hi, and so does Michelle. Aaron and Michelle. She says hi back. All right. Okay. Yeah, but it's cool actually seeing her, on the war path, doing everything she can to solve to essentially try and go through with her revenge. And she brings up a couple of interesting things. Apparently, they have I think it's a 48-hour window after their first leap to actually make it home.
Yes.
As long as they complete their mission. So I seriously doubt that they must have told Aaliyah this when she first leapt, because she ended up lost in time. And I doubt that she would have continued to leap if they hadn't trapped her in time.
And that makes me wonder how much control they have over it and how much of it is, I don't know if it's within 40 hours, because way Zoe made it sound as if they don't do it within so long of a time, it makes it harder for them to get retrieved or whatever. I wonder how much of it is actually true and how much of it is Lothos telling them that just to,
so that she'd actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, we do know at the end of Trilogy, which came before this one,
right,
that Sammy Joe had come up with a theory to try and get Sam home. So if this is actually built on the initial project, there's a good chance that stuff Sammy Joe has done has ended up evolving their project into one where they've got far greater control and are able to retrieve people within 48 hours, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's just something interesting there.
And talking about this, it makes me disappointed, I guess, that we didn't get more on the evil leapers and more on Lothos. And I would have liked to seen an episode centered on Lothos and that point of view. Yeah. I think that would have, again, like you said, it goes against their whole optimistic look at things. But I think that would have been an interesting episode, and it would have given us some more answers, and maybe something we would have seen in a season 6. I don't know. I would like to hope
That's
so.
what I would think as well. And I would hope that we see Aaliyah somewhere down the track as well. She would probably end up being some sort of I wouldn't say a rogue leaper, but just someone who's traveling around in time trying to put right what she sees needing to be put right, obviously with no guide. But
do you think she's still leaping, or do you think?
I do think so, yeah.
See, I like it that she's at peace and she's leapt into her own life elsewhere, or she's because we don't really get any sort of other than she's gone and she's at peace.
Yeah,
Or
apparently
something
she's
like that.
free.
She's happy. I forget the exact phrase Al used.
Yeah,
And see,
he said Ziggy can't find her, but she knows that Leah's free, I think is what he said. So,
there you go. That's what it was, free. And my question is, how does Ziggy know this?
Mm.
Other than just being optimistic and she's not.
It would seem like
close.
Ziggy can actually sense in the leap itself the fact that she was leaping blue rather than red. That
Right.
suggests that she's under the control of the good force now rather than the bad.
Right.
Or under the protection of it, I suppose, is a better way to say it. So yeah, there's a few ways that it can probably be interpreted.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying about Zoe as the leaper, it's probably a good thing that Al wasn't a leaper. If this is the sort of thing that someone as perverted as Zoe would do while she's there, because I mean, we know that she says, for the sake of science, let's see how the other half lives. And she goes and admires her male body and
that was
the
just
reflection.
Every time she's doing that, she's pulling her shirt and looking at his chest. Everybody's like,
Mm.
"Oh, it's gross."
Like, what is she gonna do? Go jerk off? Like,
Well, the thing is, it's implied that her plan was to do what Myers had the reputation of doing, which was
right?
raping
No,
the inmates.
I get it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Like all the plans that she had with Liz, it was obvious that she was planning to get it on with Liz just because she could.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but that was like after the fact. The first time when she's like admiring her body per se, I was just like, oh no, this is just gross.
Yeah. So there's Leah's or Zoe's pulling her shirt open, looking at Myers' chest hair, and Michelle's like, "Oh, that's gross."
Not a fan. Not a fan.
And I do have to say, I love Tim's as a hologram.
Yes.
And I can tell Michelle, he had a little bit too much fun with it.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, and the costumes for that guy was just great too.
Yeah. And
that's another reason I
also,
like to see more of the evil leapers, because I love Tim's. He was a great character.
yeah.
He was very entertaining,
Yeah.
for
I
lack
think
of a
so
better
as well.
word.
Yeah. Now, Michelle, you were saying you didn't really like the hypnosis side of things, but I actually quite liked that scene, partly because we're kind of seeing into Aaliyah's mind and her state of relaxation and seeing the mountain and the clouds and all that sort of stuff. But actually seeing Zoe getting closer and closer and closer. And we find out from what Zoe says to Thames, this was their attempt of actually locking back onto her.
Right.
And it was through the hypnosis that they managed to drive her away for a little bit. And they're completely baffled as to how they were able to block the transmission. They just thought it was some sort of interference from the leap itself, or maybe from linking up Zoe to Thames. It might have affected the link between Zoe and Aaliyah. So yeah, I actually quite liked that scene because it showed, exactly what was going on from all the different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Well, I like what led up to it, where Al was telling Sam about when Sam left into the mental asylum.
Yeah.
In shock theater, and he's like, "Well, this happened," and Sam's relaying it because Sam doesn't remember most of the time, so he's relying on Al's narration of what happened to relay it to Leah.
Yeah.
So I love the way they're repeating things, back and forth and trying to get the information, since Aaliyah can't see Al or hear him. Sam's got to repeat it, and I just love the way that came out.
Al, where are you? Vegas.
Oh, Blue Mountain.
I love that line.
Al, where are you? Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, prison, where they're at, supply closet.
Yeah.
Vegas. Great. Now, prison supply closet.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty good mystery in this episode, to be honest, with trying to figure out who murdered Carol. And like all these weird things that Ziggy's picking up, like the inmate that Sam talks to in the cell, and apparently it's a completely different statement than what was in all the records, that, you know, she'd been attacked and all that sort of stuff. And then Ziggy tells Al, oh, this is weird. In a few months, she just vanishes off the face of the earth. And
She's out of
yeah.
prison in a few months and then vanishes.
Yeah, but I think we can probably extrapolate it's because of the fact that she knew what Myers had done, and or at least didn't maybe know that it was Myers, but she knew closer to what the truth was, and they had to shut her up. And
So,
you know, there's all these things that you wouldn't pick up on maybe the first time, but when you look at it as a whole, you know, it's a pretty good representation of a good mystery that they're somehow trying to solve. I also really love the scene. Sorry,
quick.
go on.
So I want to say while we're here, I assume that after Myers got investigated and all that I forget the gal's name now that disappeared. I assume she actually lived a happy
Fiddler,
life.
was it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
She lived a happy life afterwards.
Yeah.
Since
I
Myers,
I didn't interpret it that way at all.
well, after Myers got caught and everything, because he wouldn't be around to make.
Oh yeah. So in the revised timeline, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we would hope so.
Again, like Sam, sometimes I'm an optimistic.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We don't really get a whole lot of information about what happens after the leap is over, but we'll get there because I'm also reminded
on the main characters. We did find out about the main character. I mean, I like that Vivian, again, jumping to the very end. I do like that Vivian gets appointed the warden of the prison. Because, I like Vivian. She was a great character.
Yeah.
And like,
I am about to step into the Twilight Zone. I need a damn.
I want to be the good guy for once. You were the good guy.
Yeah.
I love that character.
Yeah, and Carolyn Seymour was in the Twilight Zone too, so that's a good link. Yep, she was in an episode of the Twilight Zone. Yeah, but no, Vivian was great. Also, Maggie Roswell, who is in The Simpsons, she plays Helen Lovejoy and Maud Flanders and quite a few other ones. Sherry Bobbins, yeah, she plays the one who I ain't taking the responsibility for this. You know, the one that I think Sam punches her out, doesn't he?
Yeah. Sam Coolcox is. Yeah. I like before he does that.
Yeah, he says,
he apologizes.
I'm sorry I have to do this.
No, I'm sorry about this. What? Because again, that's very much Sam.
Yeah.
I'm going to knock your lights out. I apologize ahead of time.
Well, it's because he doesn't like hitting women, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a good guy. Yeah. He has to punch her out to get out of there, but before he does, he apologizes to her. You know.
Yeah.
I love that about Sam.
That's it. I also really like the scene with the two women and Al in the waiting room. Yeah. And Liz raises a very good point there. I mean, it's really kind of cool seeing someone who, I suppose, can stand up for herself and, you know, gives it back to Al, exactly the sort of thing that Al would give out. But she makes a very good point as well about the fact that she is far better off there than she was in the prison and in the hole. And
why would you want to go back, you know?
And seeing Aaliyah, well, not Aaliyah, what's the name of the girl she leapt into? Angel. Seeing Angel kind of in a catatonic state in the waiting room as well. You got to remember, because of the hypnosis, Aaliyah's taken on pretty much a lot of Angel's persona. But in Lee Harvey Oswald, we saw that mind merging is a two-way street. So it's quite possible that Angel is experiencing a lot of what Aaliyah had to go through during all of her leaps. And I think all those horrific things would probably put someone in that sort of state. And you would hope that she does forget it when she leaps back.
Yeah.
So that was actually a really good scene. I think it's the last time we see some of the leapees in the waiting room, isn't it? I think we do see the waiting room again, but not with a leapee in it.
I'm trying to remember the order of events, but
yeah. But this is a good reason why we needed more scenes with the waiting room, I think, because it helps break up the story and helps it to progress, but also gives us just another reason for Al to be in the shots, and it's really good. Sorry.
And I was just looking on Wikipedia real quick. I think this is the last time we really see, because this is episode 17. And there's only 5 more episodes left.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure we do see the waiting room again, but not with anyone in it.
right.
But what I was also going to say, couple of things. When Sam Rumpelstiltskin's Aaliyah, she starts being able to see Thames. And that's kind of interesting because her brainwaves aren't linked to Thames's. So, so the only kind of explanation I could come up with was hers are linked to Zoe's, and Zoe's are linked to Thames. So there might be enough of a link there so that they can still probably communicate. It might be the same way that they were able to get Sam to see Gushy in Killing Time. They might have been able to link Gushy with Al's brainwaves, perhaps temporarily.
And I also think it's just that the fact that, again, this isn't Project Quantum Leap. This is Project Quantra or whatever. Maybe it's enough of a change that it's not quite of a direct link. It's more of a wider spectrum, if you will. And that's why she can see him once she gets freed from, as you said, she gets
from the hypnosis. Yeah. Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, I like that. Once she gets Rumpelstiltskin, maybe, it opens her up a little bit more.
Yeah. And Renee Coleman's acting actually in this episode is really good. You really see the claustrophobia that she's experiencing from Angel, and the fact that she does get so agitated and unable to function, I suppose, would be a good way to say it. So I just thought it was top acting all the way around. Interesting
actors and actresses.
Interesting, like you said before, the fact that we find out that Zoe had always been the first choice to be the leaper, but for some reason Zoe pushed for Aaliyah to do it, seeing it as some sort of favor to her. And that's, I think, part of the reason why she was so pissed off that Aaliyah managed to escape and why she wanted revenge so much, because, it seems like Zoe stuck her neck out for Aaliyah, and that's, in her mind, the thanks that she gets.
Right. Well, leads me back to something earlier you said, which I agreed with at the time, that there's multiple evil leapers out there. Seeing how we find out Zoe was the first pick for it, I wonder how many actual evil leapers there are out there. I don't know if there's many as we originally thought there was from this conversation, but again, it's all guessing, and
And look, there's a chance that they may have been the first two, but if the project is still running, they could send out multiple ones, especially if they do, especially if, their primary objective isn't just to put wrong what was made right, but the primary objective might be to take out Sam. So, yeah.
We're kind of missing a bigger picture here, though, is like, if this was Sam's baby, who stole his information?
The government. Maybe.
They don't say, do they? Or do they?
Well, again, that's something we haven't watched yet. Okay. The episode before Delivers from Evil. That's what Hayden was saying earlier. The episode before Delivers from Evil, the government finds out about Project Quantum Leap. Okay. So we don't know for sure who created or who's behind Lothos, but that is one idea. And then it depends on if you consider the book's canon or not. In the last book, Mirror's Edge, there's also references to maybe someone else starting something with Quantum Leap or like Quantum Leap or something. So there are other entities out there that are aware of. It depends on how far out you reach, whether if you just look for the series or you take the books into it. There are other people out there that know about Project Quantum Leap.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, even though their project is more advanced, it's too similar to Sam's project to not have been built on Sam's project. I mean, the fact that they have someone who's a time traveler replacing someone else in the past and then being bounced into the future, into their holding chamber.
Right.
The fact that they have neural links so that they can have a holographic link to the past or the future.
It makes sense that it's more advanced because, again, I don't think we ever get in the show a time frame, but in the scripts it refers to 2020. So they're 20 years advanced from Project Quantum Leap. So, I mean, you would imagine, especially if there is some sort of government funding behind it, they are going to be that much more advanced. So,
let me just take a quick look in the book here.
that's what I was looking at earlier, seeing if there was anything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any other information that we could come up with, but yeah, I think we've just covered everything. So, I mean, what have they got? They've got a hybrid computer who seems to be able to access any database and able to not just tell them what their project, not just tell them what the mission is for each leap, but probably to decide what the missions are going to be. They have neural links to make holographic connections, and like we said, they've got a hand link which connects to their computer.
And they still have to hit it on the side to make it work.
I didn't catch that. Sorry.
I said
What did you say?
Still have to hit it on the side to make it work. Oh, and I do have to point out that there is a flaw in the show.
Is there?
Okay, what's that?
Can I hand wave it away?
No, I pointed out to when you rewound it and looked.
Oh. Yeah, when they're escaping through the sewers or whatever, not sewers, but they come out of the riverbed or
The
whatever
old
it is,
tunnels, yeah.
and they come out into the water. If you watch up on the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you see a piece of equipment come into view for a second and then go out.
Oh, we'll have to tell Matt that. I don't know if he had that in the goofs. What have we got?
Oh, maybe I added something to the
But
book.
yeah, we're watching that Michelle point. I'm like, what? So I had to rewind to see. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that.
Is there anything in production goofs? No, it doesn't seem to be.
Oops, sorry.
So we'll have to tell Matt that. He can
And you
add it
gotta
when we get
tell
into
him
season.
that I pointed it out. Just
Yeah,
because
I will.
I
All right, and
made something. Woohoo.
Yeah.
I'm excited. That's really cool.
yeah, well done.
Yeah, no, they got several things, and something I
I
don't
want-
think is necessarily an error, but in fact, one of the things they have in here is an error. Michelle pointed out when Tim said there was no one in the holding chamber. And here it says, "What about Myers?" That's what Michelle asked. She's like, "Well,
Yeah.
what about the guy?" I'm like, "Well," and I don't think that's an error so much as they were talking about Aaliyah, and so when he said no one was there, I think he was specifically referring to.
I think that's what they're
Bingo.
trying to get across.
Yeah,
But yeah, his wording could have been better.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I've just taken a closer look in the book here, the very last one. As Sam and Aaliyah scrabble up the embankment at the end, Sam says, "Hurry." Just after that, on the top left of the screen, a crew member's hand carrying a remote control device briefly comes into view.
see those hands.
Damn it.
But I'm impressed you found it because I usually don't watch that hard, so I don't usually
Yeah,
see.
I don't either. It just caught my eye, and I'm like, oh.
I missed it. Michelle pointed out. So I had to rewind to say, what? Oh crap! You're right. It is.
Yeah. But if you watch really closely, there's a lot of little goofs you can see, like
Right.
Sam or Scott Bakula reflecting in a lot of different surfaces, or Dean Stockwell as well occasionally, because the holograms aren't supposed to reflect.
Right.
Like if it's windy out, you wouldn't be expecting a hologram to be affected by that, but we sometimes see Al's clothes moving in the wind, that sort of
Well,
stuff.
see, my fan wink for that is that at that time, Ziggy's turned the air conditioner on in the imaging chamber just to give that effect.
Yeah, well, it might be Ziggy's monitoring everything Sam's going through, and to aid Sam's interpretation of what's going on, might be trying to make it match. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think we saw in Genesis, Sam doesn't like watching Al walk through things, so he makes Al walk around things just to,
And most of the
put his mind at
time,
ease.
yeah, if Sam's in a car, Al's level with him instead of up higher where so I
Yeah, and also
definitely
staying, at the same
Yeah.
position that they're in as well. So the
Mhm.
hologram must be moving around him. Yeah. No, it's. I mean, you can come up with explanations for it.
and I
It's just-
will.
Yeah, it's just sometimes.
I don't have one for the equipment we saw, but which I found.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Fine.
speaking of towards the end of the episode, again, not very many missteps, I would say, but there is kind of what I consider a misstep towards the end. Just the fact that everything is wrapped up so quickly. Like they get they go through this confrontation with Zoe, and Aaliyah leaps out, and Sam shoots Zoe. Zoe leaps out, but then we just get this huge dump of information from Ziggy, which
Right.
Sam blurts out, and then apparently everything's fine. Now, I suppose in the sequence of events, it actually does make sense that that's how it would happen, because that's the stage where Sam tells Vivian, "You have to have me and Angel handed over to the state troopers because they're going the warden will kill us." And so
Right.
at that stage, that might be where history changes and
Mhm.
where the investigation is reopened, and through that investigation, that's where Ziggy's actually able to
Well, that's
find the answers to the
when
question.
Sam tells Vivian, the warden raped her and all that. Yeah, because it all came out.
Yeah, and there's
Like you
also
said,
the chance too that when Aaliyah leapt out and Angel leapt back, there might have been some sort of stuff going on in the whole leaping process in the waiting room, where maybe Liz remembered something and blurted it out, and then they immediately told.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's implied that Liz always knew what had happened, but she wouldn't
Yeah.
tell anyone because she was already under investigation and knew that if she blabbed like Fiddler, she would probably end up killed as well. And she was killed. She took the fall for it originally.
Right.
So I guess the sequencing of events does make sense, but it just feels really rushed. I know that it was the end of the episode and they had to do it, but
And again, I
I
can
would
see
have
where you're
liked a
coming
different
from.
way for it to happen, though.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, yeah, it was, like I said, it was the end of the episode, so they had to get it all out there so they didn't leave you wondering, because they're not going to bring it up next episode because he's busy with Marilyn. But
Yeah.
so yeah, and that's what we've played previously about, ways they've handled this info dump and, or not enough information about what happened to the person he leapt into. So
yeah, look,
yeah.
I'm not saying that it didn't work. I'm just saying I would have liked it to be done better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I like what we got. It was still a great episode, but yeah, it could have been handled a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was also going to say something. What was I going to say? Forgotten. Doesn't matter. Can't have been too
Not
important.
been that important.
Yeah.
Or as my grandma used to say, must have been a lie.
Yep, I was thinking that. I wasn't going to say it, but I was thinking it.
What were you saying? Thinking?
As my grandma used to say, if you can't remember, it must have been a lie.
Okay. Yeah. And is there anything else that I was going to bring up? Not really. I think that might have been everything. But look, I think of the 3 Evil Leaper episodes that we've got, this one's probably the strongest. I think you might not like all the elements that are going on all at once, but I actually do like that network that kind of meshes towards the end. So yeah,
See, I was saying this
I'll
earlier.
take it.
I think I like Delivers from Evil a little better just because it was the first appearance. But then this is a close second, followed by the previous episode. But
Yeah, and that's fair.
And I can see where you're coming from, though, because this was a really good episode and we got a lot more information on it. And it was just a great episode. Yeah, it's just fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Michelle, we'd love your opinion as well.
I thought I already gave it.
You have anything else you have to say about?
Oh, no, like I said before, I mean, I'm glad I watched them, but they're not in my top 10. They're not.
Okay, we're done talking to her.
I know you keep saying that, but
I'm joking.
I mean, I just feel like it's not my cup of tea.
And see, then I wonder, because that's what I do, how much of it is you just didn't care for the episode, and how much of it is the fact that we're pushing all these, in my opinion, great episodes at you at one time, instead of being spread out and having regular episodes, and then one of these episodes, and some just regular episodes.
Yeah.
Kind of, episode fatigue maybe, or something where,
But I'm really interested in a lot of the other ones. But
so.
I just, I'm not a fan of these. I wasn't a fan. It wasn't that memorable. Like, oh, okay, I remember now what the Jimmy one was. I
Right.
was more. I think that one's my favorite because it had Jimmy elements in it.
Right. Return to Jimmy.
Versus these new ones that were just about that. So if I'm comparing that one to the other two, then yeah, I like the Jimmy one way better and was more entertained by that versus these next two.
Right.
I don't like the evil Leaper character. I liked the bad lady and I liked
Zoe.
her hologram guy,
Tim's.
but I don't like that whole element. It wasn't just my thing. It just
Right.
wasn't my thing.
Yeah,
So-
and that's fair. A lot of people don't really like the Evil Leaper episodes because of the concept itself. It
They're
goes
wrong.
against the general optimism of the show that, there'll be someone out there doing good. Having someone out there trying to do evil and the exact opposite seems to go against the whole premise of the show.
that
If
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that that's what a lot of people have a problem with.
Right.
And yeah, and also I think that the Evil Leaper arc needed more explanation. If it had been explained that things that Sam had done had actually created this, had actually caused the creation of this alternate project,
A little more
and then
backstory.
Sam, and then that Sam somewhere along the way would have to try and fix this, prevent the creation of the project somehow, or something along those lines. Then I
Yeah.
think that it would have been better. It would have ended up being better received than as it currently was. Some people really love it, and some people didn't like it. So, yeah,
I
it
had to
sounds
look
like
up real
one of the
quick.
two.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had to look up real quick Tim's song. 'Cause I love the way he was singing that. Yo ho, yo ho,
Yo ho ho.
life for me.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
It's
love
yo ho ho, a pirate's life for me.
Yeah.
Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum.
yo ho,
That's
yo
right.
ho ho, yo ho ho. Hologram's
Yeah,
life for me. I
yeah.
just love how much joy Tim's got out of being a hologram.
Yeah.
Just
I think it'd be fun. Like I
Yeah.
would love to do it. Like, and I would be that person. Like, ha, look at I'm putting my hand through you.
well, like when Sam
know?
was the hologram that one
Yeah.
episode, he's like,
Yeah.
the revenge is mine. He
Yeah,
goes through-
I would so be that person. Be like, look, I'm walking through a wall. Look, I'm walking through this. I'm a ghost. Woo! I could see myself being that person. And so, like, that to me was comical and enjoyable.
So maybe this is my favorite episode of the three because I really loved Tim's
he made
as a
it.
hologram. He
definitely
did a
broke
great
up
job.
the-
I mean, Zoe did a good job when she was the hologram in the first two episodes of this, but yeah, Tim's just brought it to life and just brought a whole new joy to it.
he was fun.
I think, I think if I was involved in a Quantum Leap project, I would have to be the hologram. I couldn't handle being the Leaper, but I would absolutely have a ball being the hologram, being the Invisible Man. Yeah, something that I just noticed. I think this is the third time we see someone actually on their first leap. And every time it seems like they've been able to overcome the Swiss cheese effect, at least partially, if they've got a specific mission in mind.
Right.
There's like in the leap back, when Sam has to leap back into Owl, he immediately remembers that he has to stop Clifford and prevent the car from going over the cliff. And then in a leap for Lisa, when the young Al Bingo goes and
Bingo.
leaps into his earlier self, he had to, no matter how Swiss cheese his brain got, he had to remember to keep his eye on Chip and not let him out of his sight, which he was able to do. And in this case too, Zoe, even though she Swiss cheesed a little bit, as Tim said, she still always knew that she had to, get her revenge on Aaliyah. Aaliyah had to die.
Right.
So it seems like if the leap is targetless, as the very, very first one was, they're going to lose more of their memory than if they have a specific mission in mind when
Yeah.
they actually do leap.
Good point.
So, yeah, that's just something that I happened to notice. That's the thing I was trying to remember, that because it crossed my mind, then I left, and then I remembered. So, yeah,
Yeah, that was a good point.
yeah. All right. I think that might be everything that I wanted to discuss from this one. I'm sure there's other things I could come up with enough time to think, but my head hurts now. It's a little bit.
And we'll
It's a
talk about
little
this
bit too
again.
much Quantum Leap all at once, if
Yeah,
there
we'll
is
talk
such a
about this
thing,
again in the future.
or in the past.
No, it'll be the future. Maybe.
You're not thinking fourth dimensionally, Aaron.
I have that problem. Is there a problem? Is there a problem with the weight in the future? Everything's heavy. Is there a problem with the?
Yeah, I've been writing that every now and then in the little things that I've been putting in as edits in Matt's book, and or proofs, whatever it is you want to call it. If I see something with the timing, I'm just saying, not thinking fourth dimensionally here.
No, you never resolve it when it comes up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey,
All right.
any other thoughts on any of these 3 episodes?
Well, just that as an arc, it's really interesting. I do like the expansion of the universe,
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah.
I thought that it should have been expanded further.
Yes.
Better explanations of where this alternate project came from, and how hopefully in some time down the track Sam will be able to prevent it. But for the 3 episodes that we got, very entertaining. I could watch them over and over again, and I do.
Yes. Here. Yeah.
So, yeah, but like I said, it's also something really great for us to be able to come up with a lot of theories too. Like, are all these things that Sam's doing in the past, like leaving a handling behind, like telling Becky who he is, like telling the government about Project Quantum Leap under sodium pentothal, are those things involved in the creation of this project? It seems like it's too much of a coincidence to go straight from the one where he spills the beans to the first time he meets the evil leaper, from one
Right.
episode to the
Yeah.
next. So it seems, like I said, I don't believe in coincidences, so it seems like there must be a reason why they showed up immediately after then. And I think if we had gotten a season 6 as we had originally wanted, we probably would have seen the continuation of this arc. I'm hoping that in the season 6 we are getting that they will at least touch on it.
I was going to ask you right now if you guys, Aaron and Hayden, think or hope that there is an evil leaper for
Oh, yes. Hope
season
so.
6.
So I was sitting there doing the math on my fingers, and I would like to see Becky show up, but she'd be like in her 70s or 80s.
Well, hang on. Killing Time. What year was that set? Let's have a
58, if
look.
I'm not mistaken.
Start,
got it right here.
Right, it was just before then. Yeah, 58. So what? She was 10 or so then.
Yeah.
So, well, if we said maybe about 1950 she was born, then yeah, be in her 70s. So.
Yeah. So I would like to see her show up as an old lady, just either maybe something involved somehow with the project, or I just like to see her since she knows of the project. Because by this point, her mom would be dead.
Yeah.
Or extremely old. But, but yeah, I would like to see Becky, even though she'd be an old woman at this point. I would like to see Becky show up at least once.
Yeah. The trouble is, you always have to pander to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
We're going to have a series that's accessible to the new viewers.
Oh, yeah.
So if they do bring in elements from the original show, they'll only be really passing cameos. I think it's not going to be like a massive story that's continued from the original series.
I'm going to interrupt you right there, because apparently one of the main characters is magic.
That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that they're going to have some massive continuation of something that Mad went through from Vita.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be anything tight other than
the fact that there's other than the fact that it's a character from the show.
Yeah, but and that's all they really need to do with Becky. They don't need to have a lot of references to it. Just a brief, mention that, I remember Sam Becky saved my mom and me once when I was a young girl, or so, just a brief throwaway line they could throw Becky in there for an episode or two. I don't think we'll see that. Just like I wish that Sammy Joe would be involved.
Yeah. And I wish too that not Troy. Who did Troy play? Teresa. That
Teresa.
Teresa could be involved and do something on Al's behalf, something like that. But yeah, we could all come up with whatever we like, but
Yeah.
it all depends on what the writers come up with.
Yeah, there's enough characters out there that knows enough about the project, or so like say Teresa, she doesn't know about the project per se, but she knows of Al, and Angel Sam. It would be nice to see, and again, I tend to be optimistic sometimes. Some of the things we've seen on the new series, or this last one that we read on the last special, they made mention that we're going to see some return of some favorite plots and characters, which fills me with a little bit of hope. Maybe we'll see some of these things we're hoping for.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, but I would like to see.
It would be funny if we find out we've actually got a listener because some of the theories that we come up with end up on the show.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, I think I've discussed everything that I want to from Revenge of the Evil Leaper, and I think we're all leaped out now.
I think Michelle's all done with Evil Leapers in general. So
Amen.
we're going to not talk to her anymore tonight. I'm going to talk over another hour on the Evil Leapers just because
Yeah.
I enjoy these episodes. No, but no.
I'm falling asleep now too.
Team's yawning, so I'm going to disconnect Hayden. I'm just going to sit here and talk to myself for a while. So no, great episodes. I enjoyed all three of them. Like I said, I always enjoy whenever it involves the project, or like I said, I like the Evil Leapers. I like a counterpoint to our main characters. So
yeah,
I know we've mentioned over on Voyager's cast, I would like to see more of an evil Voyager going around causing problems. And that's kind of what we get here. So
yeah,
I really like it.
Cool.
But that's going to do it for this episode, the Starbright Project Quantum Leap Returns Special 3. The next one we do will probably be, I'm assuming, unless, again, just due to all the podcasts I have at this point, I don't have time for another one, I don't think. But my plans at this point is the next episode we're going to do will be Mirror Image.
Yeah.
The series finale.
Unless Michelle and I twist your arm.
Unless you guys, yeah.
Oh, we will, because I have some I want to do before that.
Well, which ones do you want to see, Michelle?
I want to see now I want to see the stripper one. I think that'd be hilarious.
You can edit them?
No, we can still record them.
But I'm trying to get these out before.
We do the specials and stuff, but we've got time to record them. It doesn't mean we have to put them out there. But I want to watch these before we do the season finale. I want to do, of course, Miss Deep South or whatever it was.
Miss Deep South.
The
Kiss one.
Yeah, the Kiss one.
Though, let me say now it's not Kiss.
I know.
Okay, because again, we refer to the
rocker.
It's Kiss-esque.
Yeah. Well, we refer to the Lee Harvey Oswald one as the JFK episode. And you got your hopes up on JFK. So I just want to make sure I don't get your hopes up. And
well, I appreciate that because that was a real downer. Because I'm totally into that stuff. But
so we'll see what comes next. There are either one or two more specials left before the show starts. We'll see what we have time for. So, but
when's it air again? September 19th?
August 19th.
Oh, August?
Or no, September.
Yeah.
Sorry, September 19th.
I hope it's September.
Yeah.
It's September 19th.
Well, actually, August will be better, but I'm pretty sure it's September.
Yeah, it is September. September 19th. I misquoted when I said August. Yeah, September 19th. So we still got a month and a half.
Okay, good. No band stuff that day. Alexis has got this itinerary that's.
She better not have band stuff at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh.
It's at 10 o'clock at night.
Well, she does. She doesn't get home some nights till 10:30, 11
Holy moly.
From football games. And then she has to sit around and go 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to band competition.
Yeah, I want to see how she deals with that.
I know.
This one time at band camp?
Yeah. Oh, she finally watched that, by the way. She's like, oh my God, Mom, what are you making me watch? Because the longest time, because I worked at the school that she worked at or went to school at, and she would say she'd come in after the end of school day, and she's like, I got to go home. I need to use the restroom. And I'm like, well, why didn't you use the bathroom? She's like, because I don't like using their bathrooms. I'm like, okay, shit break. She's like, what is that? So then when I showed her, she's like, Mom. It was
Although
great.
he had the right idea, Finch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Finch was awesome. But I was like, Lexus, you want to know who your grandfather's favorite character is? She's like, who? I'm like, Stifler. What? No.
Yeah.
But all right, Hayden, well, you get going. I know you're tired and
Yeah.
dinner's probably ready.
So we're going to finish this real quick.
Hopefully soon, yeah.
So, again, until the next episode, either the last or the second to the last episode of the specials before we get to the season premiere of the new Quantum Leap, we will talk to you guys later. Goodbye, everybody.
Awesome. Rock on.
You're getting ready for that concert, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so keen. Actually, are either of you on Snapchat?
Nope,
I
I'm
am.
not.
Hang on.